The story kicks off right in the middle of a war zone, completely covered in ice. In that very moment, our MC instantly figures out he took a game, overhit, and has 0 escape routes left. The Holy Order's blade sank right into the center of his chest, bringing his chances of making it out in one piece to an absolute 0. Exploding with hype, the opposing troops let out a huge sigh of relief for finally cornering their main target. Especially since our main character has a global reputation for being the ultimate demon lord of the continent. Absolutely wrecked, the Necromancer Archiman pushes himself to stand up, even knowing full well he is at the end of the line. Backed into a corner, the Edge Lord is fully aware that his final curtain call is breathing right down his neck. Instantly, his mind flashes back to the one-decade conflict that wrecked the world and ended in an embarrassing defeat. The worst part is knowing for a fact that the barriers completely crumbled, and this epic fail wiped out everything he owned. And the blame for this entire disaster landed squarely on the shoulders of the Northern Knights, Commander Burkle. Gripping his sword, the blonde warrior points out that he did not win this clash all by himself. Highlighting everybody else's grind, the hero points out that many had to make the ultimate sacrifice for him to reach that spot. Cutting to the chase, the leader demands peace on the continent and tells the villain to throw in the towel. Boiling with rage at the sheer hypocrisy, our dark wizard tells the guy to zip it, completely out of patience for a moral lecture. Overflowing with spite, he claps back that the soldiers let their own people get wiped out by illness. And now they want to play the good guys. Blinded by fury, the Dark Sorcerer vows to neutralize every single one of those phony fighters. Without hiding his absolute disgust, our boy guarantees he is going to send all these fakes to the great beyond with his bare hands. In the blink of an eye, a bizarre green energy starts leaking from his busted body, sending the whole squad into panic mode. Completely mind blown, the enemies go into shock, seeing the monster pulling magic, while looking that beat up. Spending his last breaths, the wizard taps into his shadow powers and strikes terror into the entire troop. But, cool as a cucumber, Burkle raises his voice and orders his men to fall back before things get messy. Next, the knight brings up the 20 million fallen souls, the villain raised as a zombie army to kickstart the conflict. Mocking the whole vibe, our MC hits him with a smirk, completely immune to this justice speech. Right then, he points out that the blonde guy is just out for blind payback, considering his own city got turned to dust too. Except the armored hero does not even flinch at the insult and stands 10 toes down on his goal. Keeping his eyes on the prize, the guy claims he only stepped onto this battlefield for one specific reason. With his sword glowing bright, Burkle guarantees his only drive to fight and sacrifice himself is the future of the kids. Hearing such a wholesome answer, our wizard's body literally blew, screens for a whole solid second. That unshakable conviction leaves the villain completely speechless and unable to clap back. Reflected in those justice-filled eyes, the wizard sees his own image completely corrupted by the shadows. Instantly, the moral gap and the absurd distance separating the two enemies becomes crystal clear. Right after, a beam of holy light parts the clouds and lights up the combat zone in a majestic glow. Bathing in that divine shine, the hero raises his weapon, carrying the weight of saving the next generation on his shoulders. With a flawless motion, the knight preps the ultimate strike to delete the threat once and for all. To everyone's surprise, the blonde guy pauses his attack mid-air the second someone yells for him to hold up. Smoothly, the guy plants his holy blade into the icy ground and gives up on defending himself. Cold and calculated, he stares down the defeated villain and asks if he has any last words before checking out. Flashing a creepy smile, our boy promises that a necromancer does not punch his ticket that easily. Out of nowhere, a blur slices the air at insane speed, going straight through the dark wizard's neck. Without an ounce of hesitation, our main character gets his top chopped right off in one flawless strike. While a pool of red chills on the floor, the soldiers scream their lungs out celebrating that the monster finally packed it up. Amidst the victory cheers, the demon's head rolls on the ground, marking the fall of the Shadow Empire. While the crowd goes wild, the villain hears his own body hit the floor and notices his consciousness fading to black. Finally, the big wizard's final moment goes down, putting a permanent stop to one decade of absolute chaos. Suddenly, the scene cuts to a massive mansion getting slammed by a spooky thunderstorm in a totally different era. Inside the luxury nursery, the maids whisper excitedly as they notice something wiggling in the crib. Completely stunned, the ladies realize the tiny baby's mouth just started moving, buzzing with hype. The maids say good morning to the young Herr Klein, while the little guy tries to figure out where he just spawned. Super quick, one of them grabs a golden portrait of the Duchess and shows it to the kid, claiming it is his mom. Trapped in that squishy body, our MC struggles big time just to move around in this new pint-sized form. Straining like crazy, the baby tries to mumble something, building up some massive tension in the room. Going crazy with emotion, the maids are almost in tears thinking the kid is about to say "mama" for the first time. Except, shattering all expectations, the toddler opens his mouth and demands the presence of the Shadow Guardians. Serving pure final boss energy, the kid starts dropping dark commands, making the staff scream in terror thinking he is the devil himself. In the blink of an eye, 15 years fly by, and the lightning storm gets replaced by a whole new era. Now, the heavy vibes are gone, and the estate is soaking up a chill sunny day, lighting up a fancy courtyard. Fresh water splashes from the stone fountain on a day that had everything to be totally normal. Blushing hard, the maids are gossiping non-stop about how fresh the young boss is looking today. Completely falling for the aesthetic, the girls are drooling over his platinum hair and flawless drip. Full of swagger, our hero struts by informal wear looking like an actual painting come to life. Melting over the guy's looks, the maids whisper compliments as he strolls past them. Not caring at all about the hype, the kid keeps walking with a super bored face, just wanting a little peace and quiet. Suddenly, a shadow pops up right behind him holding a soaking, wet threat ready to strike. Without any warning, some crazy dude dumps a whole bucket of holy water right on our MC's head, trying to wash the bad vibes away. Looking super suspicious, the unhinged priest known as Garrison stares the kid down and claims he saw the devil's face in him. Seeing the drama unfold, the maids quietly dip out so they do not catch any stray fire. Dripping wet, the kid angrily asks if the old man isn't tired of this purification nonsense after all this time. Loyal to his conspiracy theory, the religious guy swears up and down that Archimonde's spirit is still trapped in that body. When the kid tries to prove he is not the villain, he gets hit with another splash of water, straight to the face without a shred of pity. Ticked off by the absolute nerve, the platinum-haired boy asks if the old man has finally crossed the line into total insanity. Mumbling a bunch of bleeped-out words, the kid turns his back to escape that unbearable yapping. Except the priest does not back down and orders the guards to lock the kid up by force. Making a run for it, young Clean books it, yelling that he is not the Dark Wizard, just to avoid another freezing holy water shower. Still damp, he spaces out in his thoughts and remembers the exact moment he lost his head. After all, our anti-hero is absolutely certain he bought the farm on that ice field and has no clue how he spawned here. Stuck in those memories, the guy is mind blown that he went out headless and woke up in the body of a newborn. The worst part was that the baby's first sentence was a freaky spell, which got him locked up in a monastery. And that is exactly where the little ex-lord bumped into a dude who called himself a priest. Real quick, a massive and scary silhouette blocked the doorway to the room. Flashing a cruel smile, Father Garrison almost drops the demon's name before catching himself just in time. Showing zero chill, the crazy guy forces the kid to listen to holy chants blasted in his ear all day long. Right after, our poor MC gets tossed into a tub packed with ice and garlic to keep the bad juju away. Crossing every single boundary, the religious dude even ties the kid to a cross surrounded by fire in some spooky ritual. Collecting heavy trauma, the young guy spends his entire childhood praying for just 1 minute of peace. 5 years later, our main character shows up looking bored out of his mind, wearing a goofy party hat. On the flip side, his personal maid Arin clasps her hands together, praying for the young lord to grow up healthy. Completely over it, the white-haired boy just takes a deep breath, his patience hanging by a thread. Taken over by a random burst of rage, he snatches the hat off his head and slams it onto the floor. Instantly, the poor maid almost starts bawling, mentioning that she was the one who put the accessory together. Realizing he messed up, the kid apologizes right away for acting out on impulse. When he bends down to pick the thing up, he freezes after hearing the girl say Father Garrison helped make the hat. Like a switch flipping, a look of pure disgust takes over the ex-necromancer's face. Right at that second, the giant brute of a priest pops up at the door with his massive presence. Pretending to be in his feels, the giant wipes away a fake tear, claiming he is so touched to see the boy wearing his gift. Without skipping a beat, our boy rips the thing right down the middle with zero shame, flashing a sarcastic smirk. Throwing a fit, the priest yells that the demon has returned, while the kid demands his dignity back. Cutting the tension, the night leader Dunkel walks into the room asking if the clown show is finally over. Super chill, the soldier brings up that these demonic reincarnation rumors have been floating around for over 10 years now. Still holding the priest's face while trying to throw a punch, the kid hears that the church itself already gave the green light for his release. Out of nowhere, the priest does an exaggerated bow to the commander, letting the kid face plant onto the floor on purpose. Flat on the ground, the platinum-haired boy boils with rage, seeing the religious guy play nice with the knight. Giving a sarcastic wave, the giant announces he is hitting the road. But deep down, The ex-villain knows for a fact that the crazy old man is not gonna vanish from his life that easily. Sticking his face back through the door, the priest gives a heads up about the Friday ritual and gets yelled at to get lost. Laughing his head off, the cleric bounces, leaving our MC fuming with anger. Flopping onto the couch, the kid complains, totally baffled by his own terrible luck. Full of disbelief, he wonders if the church really allows one of its guys to torture someone like this. Bringing a small towel, the little maid throws the question out there. What if the boss actually is that dark reincarnation? Denying it to the bitter end, the platinum boy swears he just hates hearing that cursed name. Deep down, our boy knows the truth, but he is well aware that the divine punishment will be 1,000 times worse if he spills the beans. Ever since his respawn, his daily life has been an absolute nightmare of tight surveillance because of those childhood rumors. Pulling his hair out in frustration, he tries to figure out why that priest acts like a permanent leech in his life. Curious about the term, the young maid asks what in the world the word "hejant" means. Taking a peek at the holy text, the breakdown shows that this title is reserved for the most overpowered dudes in the order. Aside from the head of the family himself, nobody in the mansion would dare go toe to toe with that walking brick wall in a robe. Hyped about the clan's strength, the girl jumps for joy, while our MC just wants to be left alone. Changing the subject, she randomly asks who was the absolute toughest patriarch in the whole family tree. With a smile, Commander Dunkel answers right away that the founder was the craziest one of them all. Even trying to slide his own dad into the convo, the kid gets a flat "nope" as an answer. With a serious face, the boy listens as they explain that the First Lord was basically an unbeatable legend. All excited, the maid confirms that the young heir is a massive fan of the ancestor and spends hours staring at his painting. Deep in thought, the ex-villain sits in the armchair, glued to the portrait hanging on the wall. Switching gears, the commander mentions that it has already been 2 centuries since the family was founded. With his eyes locked on the picture, the main character repeats that timeline, feeling the weight of this bizarre irony. Struggling to believe his own karma, he tries to process the incredibly sick joke the universe just played on him. Checking out the bloodline from top to bottom, the past comes back to hit him like a freight train. Right in the middle of the fancy painting is Burkle, the great hero of the North, and the very first Lord. Sweating bullets, the kid realizes he reincarnated exactly as a direct blood descendant of the guy who took his head off. Instantly, the memories of that armored knight giving speeches about the kids come rushing back into his brain. Thinking back to that embarrassing finish, the visual of the shadows swallowing everything messes with his head. Waking up spooked, the white-haired kid jumps out of bed, gasping for air like a madman. Isolated in his pitch-black room, he tries to pull himself together after that trippy nightmare. Rubbing his face, the kid complains about the bad dream and remembers his actual evil reputation. Digging into the past, our MC admits he lost the plot and came this close to wiping out the entire planet. All of this building up to his own beheading at the hands of the hero, and waking up centuries later in this circus. Even with the new hardware, he lets out a sigh, admitting it still feels weird rocking platinum hair. Out of nowhere, a creepy voice slips through the door, letting the kid know he talks way too much in his sleep. Stepping out of the dark, Father Garrison flashes a psycho smile, asking if he was dreaming about his shadow days. Trying to play it cool, the hero stutters, claiming he is just sleep-deprived, and takes a step back, totally spooked. Popping out from under the blankets, the little maid throws her boss under the bus, revealing she heard him sleep, talking too. Mimicking destruction noises, the girl adds fuel to the fire, while the kid goes into absolute panic mode. Saving the boy's skin, the butler Veerman knocks on the door to announce that an official event is about to kick off. With his eyes burning with pure faith, the religious dude promises to double the purification sessions because of this slip-up. Slapping his hand over the chatterbox's mouth, our MC gulps hard, knowing he is cooked. Cursing the cleric with every name in the book inside his head, the young guy heads out to his appointment. With their shoes clicking on the floor, the duo chats in the hallway about some fencing event. Walking down the corridors, the butler drops the bomb that the Lord himself demanded the kids show up. Shocked by the summons, the boy asks questions about his dad, while the maid cannot take her eyes off a sweet treat. Scolding the little girl for her bad manners, the classy butler snaps the cookie in half. Wrapping up the scene, the redhead nibbles on the snack like a little rodent under the old man's wholesome gaze. Completely lost, our boy asks why on earth he got called to the party, since his dad never asks for that. Right off the bat, the kid finds out that the side branch family members just set foot in the mansion. Thinking it over, the platinum boy repeats the word, remembering exactly who this squad of freeloaders is. Stepping into the main hall, our main character locks eyes with the obnoxious relatives who notice he has arrived. Dripping with sarcasm, One of the preppy guys tells them to call the kid by the Dark Lord's name, getting a laugh out of the crew. Full of malice, the cousins on the mom's side spit out that the boy was left to rot away in the monastery. Sizing up the out-of-shape crowd, the hero figures the northern relatives only showed up for a free meal. Scanning the room, the ex-wizard catches the western cousins paying close attention to a girl sitting there chilling. Serving pure boss energy, the blonde crosses her legs, showing off the vibe of someone who runs the show. Watching all this, the platinum boy notices the idiots are still roasting him, fully convinced nobody is going to do a thing about it. Turning his head with the meanest look possible, the young guy glares daggers at the obnoxious blonde cousin. Matching their energy, the kid flat out asks who gave them the right to talk like that. With a deadpan face, our MC drops that he does not even know their names and thinks about how hard the main family has fallen off. Quickly, it becomes super obvious that making fun of alleged hair is the ultimate proof that the house is looking weak. Out of nowhere, the sound of clashing blades fills the hall. Cutting the trash talk short, fueled by rage, the purple-haired warrior shoves his sword hard against his blonde rival. Demanding to be taken seriously, the guy yells at his opponent to stop playing around in the fight. Cold as ice, Dylan warns him that the match is already over, but stubborn Dalton refuses to take the L. With a confident smirk, the blonde shows exactly why he is the true prodigy of the Rainland family. Acknowledging the guy's skills, our hero admits his older half-brother is an absolute beast at fencing. Trading lightning, fast strikes in the center of the clash, the pure talent proves he is carrying the family's rep on his back. Consumed by desperation, Dalton charges in like a madman, swearing he is going to flip the score. Locking in his special vision, the former Necromancer analyzes the family's fighting style for the first time since respawning. With crazy smooth movement, the eldest brother dodges the heavy attack without breaking a sweat. All of a sudden, a yellow aura wraps around the blonde kid in a devastating dash. Decoding the biomechanics of the attack, the main character manages to unravel every single trick hidden in that move. Catching the core of it, the platinum boy figures out the whole secret is in the footwork. Tracking the speed spike, the ex-villain clocks the exact moment the foot hits the ground. Realizing he messed up big time, the purple-haired dude freezes in fear as he watches his enemy vanish right in front of him. Analyzing the mana flow, the kid deciphers 100% of the Rainland's secret art. Without leaving a single opening for defense, Dylan brings his arm down in a monster strike known as the Meteor Sword. Wrapping up the beatdown, the ref calls the match the exact second the training sword goes flying. Holding his champion pose, the brother rubs it in the loser's face that he already gave him a heads up about the danger. Absolutely mind blown, the VIPs in the crowd whisper in awe at that historic strike. Rubbing his magic eye that just twitched, the kid ignores the political game and feels a little sting in his vision. Right after, our main character's name echoes loudly through the room, grabbing his attention. Walking up to the youngest sibling, Dylan flashes a smile and asks how long the kid has been standing there watching. Flexing a bit, the champ jokes that he would have made the moves flashier if he knew he had a VIP audience. Staring right at Mr. Perfect, the kid straight up asks what this squad of second-rate relatives is doing here. Cutting the chatter, a massive, intimidating man walks up congratulating his oldest son. With his patchy beard, the seventh patriarch Heinkel heaps praise on him for perfectly mastering the secret move. Bowing quickly, the prodigy greets the lord of the family, while our MC just watches from the sidelines. Staring into his son's soul, the dad validates all the blood, sweat, and tears it took to reach that level of martial arts. Realizing how the game is played, the ex-wizard concludes that the firstborn is the only trophy the Duke actually cares about. Doing a little kissing up, Captain Dunkel points out that even veteran knights would embarrass themselves trying to copy that technique. Trying to play it humble, the prodigy says thanks for the compliment, but gets cut off by the leader's booming voice. Hyping up past glories, the old man recites the family founder's golden rule: the main clan has to be absolutely overpowered. Demanding that hardcore mindset, the old man orders the guy to tattoo that into his brain, getting a highly motivated "Hi sir" back. Switching targets in a flash, the Duke's icy stare drops like an anvil right onto the youngest kid. Super slowly, the patriarch's heavy hand rests on our MC's head, making the whole vibe incredibly heavy. Without sugarcoating it, the old man vents his disappointment at not sensing a single drop of magic flowing through the boy. Looking down, the kid mumbles an apology, realizing that even the leader's anger has just turned into pure disgust. Trying to save the kid's skin, the captain argues that the decades wasted in divine lockdown slowed his progress. Spreading drama like wildfire, the leech relatives start whispering about how useless the youngest kid is. Jumping on the bandwagon, the side branch crew starts questioning if the main bloodline can even hold the dukedom together anymore. Not giving a single care about the toxic gossip, The former Necromancer channels all his rage straight at the painting of the legendary knight. Popping into his head, the original hero's wholesome speeches come back to haunt the ex-villain. Clenching his fists, the guy finds it wild that the warrior gave his life for the future of this washed-up squad. Snapping our MC out of his trance, the brother gives a little wave from afar as he walks the patriarch out of the hall. Giving him zero peace, the purple-haired loser pops up next to the hero, dropping slick comments. Shaking with anger, the coward tries to humiliate the magicless kid to make up for the embarrassment he just suffered in the ring. Spotting the clone right away, our boy brings up the guy's reputation as a player with the girls at the event. Put on blast in front of everybody, the loser goes into shock while our kid calls him a moron. Going in for a blind attack, the aggressor takes a clumsy step just as a leg pops out to block his path. Losing his balance completely, the annoying noble kisses the fancy floor after the hero's super smooth trip. With a bloody nose, the useless guy bowls with rage while our MC drops some harsh truths right in his face. Sinking to the absolute bottom, the guy screams that the platinum boy is just a motherless kid who was never loved. Turning his head in slow motion, the kid shoots a glare driven by pure predator instinct. Ignoring the personal attack, the former demon only gets ticked off by the absolute nerve of these low tears stepping up to the main family. With his hidden magic flashing in his eye, he wonders how such an overpowered bloodline ended up so deep in the mud. Beyond furious, he refuses to accept that the great hero's descendants turned into this walking joke. Stopping the brawl in its tracks, the head of the guard steps in, demanding respect and towering over the obnoxious coward. Using a heavy tone of voice, the warrior declares he will not tolerate a single insult against the legitimate heir anymore. Getting up off the rug, the worthless guy calls our MC a wimp for hiding behind the guard's back. Hearing the trash talk, the commander grips the hilt of his own sword to make it clear he is out of patience. Unbothered, our hero decides to break the late night quiet by calling his protector. In an empty corner surrounded by darkness, the kid has the nerve to ask if the knight has a spare sword. Without asking too many questions, Dunkel tosses the wooden weapon right into the kid's hand. Confused, the big guy just wants to know why on earth the little boss needs a blade in the middle of the night. Immediately, the hero starts swinging the weapon around, mimicking his brother's stance, while asking questions about the Mitter strike. With that, the kid announces he has something to prove and tells the soldier to go get some sleep, while Dunkel notices how hyper-focused the boy is on the blade. Keeping quiet, the warrior feels super bad knowing the kid has a body completely locked out of using magic. After all, it is common knowledge that anyone with 0 mana will never become a respected fighter. Making things worse, the meteor sword technique was created by the founder hero himself, and copying it without magic is basically impossible. Suddenly, the ex-villain's cursed eye glows bright, showing that the memory of the afternoon duel is burned into his brain with crazy detail. In that exact split second, the guy runs a mental replay of the footwork, and the precise fraction of a second the foot hits the dirt. With perfect clarity, the kid manages to map out the sword's path and the exact flow of the magical energy. Crazily enough, our MC's cursed eye activates an unreal processing speed. In a flash, Knight Dunkel freezes on the spot, sensing a monstrous presence pop up out of nowhere. Freaking out, the soldier opens his eyes wide, wondering if what he is seeing is even physically possible. Looking like a lightning bolt dropping down, a creepy purple flash cuts through the night, turning a giant rock into dust in half a second. Staring at the pulverized rock, the kid stands there like a statue while the wooden weapon lets off some spooky smoke. Not believing his own eyes, the warrior calls out to the kid with his voice shaking in fear. Just as shell-shocked as the soldier, our MC lets out a nervous little laugh and whispers in awe that his theory actually worked. Cutting to another scene, the maid Aaron looks terrified at a super tense situation. 100% locked in, the crazy Father Garrison lets out a shocked mumble at what he is looking at. Dunked into a basin of boiling hot water, the Platinum Boy's head proves his body's unreal durability. Mind blown, the religious dude narrates that the guy held his breath underwater for over 60 seconds, while the girl calls her boss a frog. Desperate for some oxygen, the kid pops up yelling in anger, asking if the next torture session is gonna be inside a fish tank. Boiling with rage, the ex-wizard complains about the dragged-out punishment, while the priest laughs, swearing he tracked a dark vibe coming from his room today. Quick on the uptake, the hero figures out he got this double punishment purely because he fired off that late night spell in the woods. Suddenly, Dunkel ruins the noise by stepping into the room holding a highly suspicious letter. Looking urgent, the warrior reports that Dalton the idiot sent that paper offering an apology for the drama. Still drying his hair, the wizard finds this mood swing super sketchy and immediately has his guard up regarding that clown. Skimming the paper, the kid Speed reads the message. No see as ever, the maid sneaks up and hears the boss mention it. Is just an invite for a hunting trip. Putting the pieces together, our MC instantly figures the little cousin just made up this cap to lure him into a trap outside. Without skipping a beat, the Platinum Boy hands the letter back, stating there is no reason to turn down the invite. Feeling himself, he flashes a subtle smirk while looking at the other side of the room. Leaning against the wall, the wooden training sword proves the kid is holding a massively overpowered ace up his sleeve. Thinking back on recent events, he admits he spent the last few days mentally reviewing his older brother's technique on loop. Thanks to his special cursed eye, the harsh truth about his new talent comes to light. In a scary twist, he realized he can perfectly copy 100% of any skill he sees just a single time. Confirming they are going to the event, the guard says he is going to get the carriage ready for the trip. Out of nowhere, the crazy Father Garrison asks to tag along, making the kid throw a fit and ask what kind of joke this is. Staring him down, the cleric locks eyes with the boy using a super serious, threatening look. Dropping his voice into a dark tone, the religious dude argues he sniffed out a very heavy, dark energy this morning. Proving the bad vibes are real, the ride is already seen tearing down the dirt road heading for the hunting grounds. Getting motion sickness, little Erin feels like throwing up, while the big guy tries to calm her down during the bumpy ride. With zero patience, the priest grumbles that he warned the girl not to come and tosses a pillow her way. Looking out the window, the kid points out that the western forest has terrible terrain for rookie hunters. Softening his voice, the cleric promises the little girl she is going to feel way better after lying down. Putting on an act, the priest claims the boy has really matured, but gets shut down by the Platinum Kid, telling him to hand over the pillow to the girl. Staring out the window, the main character notices how drastically the outside world has changed. Way back when, that exact same area was an icy wasteland packed with casualties from the war he started himself. Seeing the glow up, the wizard admits that the so-called hero did some serious cleanup, erasing the damage across the continent. Interrupting his thoughts, Dunkel unlocks the carriage door and reports they have hit the drop-off spot. Right at the entrance, the rival family's absurd mansion pops up, proving the side branch is absolutely rolling in duff. Stepping out, the hero asks if this is actually the coward cousin's address. Scanning the place, our MC notices their base flexes way more wealth than the main castle itself. Annoyed, he thinks it is crazy how these guys burn so much cash on a useless event, just so nobles can stuff their faces. Flanked by some nasty-looking hunting beasts, the cousin shows up looking arrogant as ever, asking what the hero is staring at. Rubbing it in, the little villain spills that the estate was built directly using funds hijacked from the main family. Drooling with hunger, the beasts look terrifying, while the preppy guy mocks the time the Platinum Boy spent locked away, assuming he is weak. Ignoring the trash talk, the young guy looks at the skinny animals and asks, since when a hunt turned into a gossip circle. Looking like an absolute psycho, the rich kid admits he set this all up specifically because he knows how short his cousin's fuse is. Acting totally fake, the trashy noble reaches out his hand, making a scene and demanding our MC to watch closely. Thirsty for chaos, the noble kicks off the game by pulling the leashes on the monsters. Smiling like a maniac, the rival brags about tossing bloody chunks of meat all over the mountain. Going crazy for a snack, the dogs take off like rockets into the brush, using their overpowered sense of smell. Drawing his bow, the host makes it crystal clear that the real targets of this tournament are the starving hounds. Without a drop of guilt, the jerk lets arrows fly, cowardly shooting the beasts right in the back. Completely unhinged, the purple-haired noble cheers at the takedown, letting out absurd laughs. Stepping close to her boss, the little maid accidentally catches the psycho's attention. Thinking she is an easy target, the scumbag drops his heavy hand on the little girl's head with some twisted thoughts. With his face scrunched in disgust, he asks what the logic is behind the Platinum Kid dragging a walking trash can like her everywhere. Getting aggressive, he squeezes the girl's tiny arm, digging his nails in to terrify the poor kid. In a flash, the hero's hand clamps down on his cousin's arm with absolute dominance, ordering him to let go. Foaming with rage, the white-haired boy swears he is going to snap the idiot's bone if he does not back off right now. Applying ridiculous pressure, our main character forces the rival to drop the girl in shock, giving him a taste of true boss strength. Ticked off by the warning, the purple-haired rich kid smacks our MC's hand away, telling him to check his attitude. Letting out a weird laugh, Dalton dares the Platinum Boy to come after him. Even hearing his bodyguard's danger warnings, our hero hops on the horse, ready to start the chase. Pulling a roll of paper from his pocket, the soldier tries to tag along to escort the young lord. In a second, The focus shifts to a magic signal scroll that works flawlessly even without a single drop of mana. Right then, our boy mentions that the crazy cleric went after them, and if he falls off the radar, it means things went south. Next, he breaks down the game plan, telling him to rip the paper, if things get messy, to trigger a warning seal on his hand. Locked in on the orders, the warrior nods while the kid speeds off on his horse. Riding through the dark woods, the former villain is certain the coward could not have gotten too far. A little further ahead, he spots something super weird blocking the path. Holding a bloody blade, the nasty cousin mocks him, asking if the kid got delayed on a road full of dead animals. Hopping off the ride, the platinum boy gets straight to the point and asks what the new clown show is about, with his eyes completely bloodshot. The guy does not show a single ounce of fear facing that ambush. Flexing his ego, the evil noble announces that this scene is the grand finale of the hunting tournament. No cap, Dalton declares that the final target of the day is going to be his own cousin. Without any hesitation, the scumbag plans to take our MC's head off so he can toss it right at the older brother's feet. Spitting garbage, the purple-haired guy calls the main bloodline a lame joke with zero actual power. With the snap of a finger, a squad of mercenaries steps out of the shadows, and the villain guarantees there is no running away. Laughing it up, the goons cheer, claiming the dukedom is basically the side family's property now anyway. With arrows loaded on their bows, the shooters tell the kid to curse the day he was born into that useless family. Letting out a heavy sigh, the ex-necromancer just agrees, dropping a short, "Oh yeah." Thinking he has it in the bag, Dalton dies laughing, already imagining tomorrow's rumors about the Sword Clan hitting rock bottom. Yelling at the top of his lungs, the loser screams that the young hare is about to become dog food. Right at that moment, the memory of the warrior who took him out pops into our MC's head, talking about the kid's future. Suddenly, a crazy, terrifying laugh escapes our main character's mouth. Totally thrown off by that weird reaction, the little villain takes a step back and asks if the kid has completely lost his marbles. Covering his face to hold back the laughter, the platinum boy sees the sick irony of this whole setup. Torn between his human side and his legendary past, his gaze shifts, showing off the true face of the demon. Taken over by hate, he throws it in their faces that the dukedom was built at the cost of his own life. And now these bugs have the nerve to mock it. Out of nowhere, a creepy green energy starts pouring out of his body, tearing up the air around him. Shocked by the flex, Dalton stutters, asking how the kid is using magic if he was born with zero mana. With an overwhelming presence bending reality, the boy corrects him on the spot, revealing that this is pure demonic energy. Freaking out, the goons are terrified of the crazy wind, not understanding what kind of monster is standing in front of them. Spooked, the cousin's eyes go wide as his brain processes the words, demonic energy. Flashing a devilish smile, the wizard starts chanting the forbidden spell, calling upon the ancient souls. In the middle of all that chaos, the summons promises to bring the fallen back into the light. Looking like a nightmare, skeletal frames covered in green flames start pulling themselves together, thirsty to crush everything. Terrified, the coward screams his head off, swearing there is no way this is real. Surrounded by a battalion of massive bones, the platinum boy fully taps back into the feared Archimond. With a creepy smirk, the final command drops, ordering the army from the beyond to swallow up every opponent. Inside his own head, the narrator reflects that 200 long years have passed since the big clash. Back in the day, the wizard used to walk over oceans of casualties during those distant times. Even centuries later, the feeling of souls piling up in the dark is still fresh in his mind. Locked away in the shadows, the voices of the fallen never stopped calling out for their true boss. Tied to that flashback, the sorcerer savors the echo of those memories coming back in full force. Deep in his chest, he feels a dark nostalgia rushing through every vein. Practically having a heart attack, the boss of the mercenaries yells that this whole situation is impossible nonsense. Facing the creepy troops, panic takes over the camp as the Death Wizard's name gets shouted. Owning his past, the kid proudly confirms that people used to call him by that legendary title. Whispering among themselves, the goons wonder if the Demon Lord's story was just a bedtime tale to scare kids. Even though he is scared to death, the rich kid tries to hide his panic by roasting the creature's looks. Mocking them, the goons point at the skulls, calling the army nothing but a pile of bones. Trying to downplay the threat, Dalton claims his cousin put on this huge show just to summon some garbage. Getting his swagger back, the purple-haired guy brags about breaking hundreds of skeletons on missions, but admits their black color is kind of weird. Ignoring that detail, the squad of fools agrees to keep a bone as a souvenir and bursts out laughing. Following the boss's orders, the mercenaries focus on wiping out the front line creatures to clear a path. Quickly, the archers ready their bows, aiming straight for the main character's defense barrier. Totally chill, The Platinum Boy stands perfectly still behind his personal guard while the weapons are locked and loaded. Yelling fire, the shooters let a massive arrow rain fly all at once. Tearing through the air, the lethal strike drops hard, trying to turn the kid into a human pincushion. Thinking he already bagged the win, Dalton celebrates early, totally sure his little cousin just turned into meat paste. But right after, the coward's smile vanishes, replaced by a look of pure shock. Wasting no time, the dark skeletons linked their frames together, building an indestructible, massive shield. Cold and calculated, the ex-wizard realizes that over 200 years, humanity completely forgot what these monsters were all about. Completely spooked, the hitmen lose their minds realizing the beasts spawned defense walls out of nowhere. Super casually, the young hare notes that it would make total sense to talk his squad if they were just regular bones. Flashing that dark smile again, he throws it in their faces that his fighters play in a whole different league. Thinking about the hero from the past, the main character mentally asks the legend to grab a front row seat for the show. Without stalling, the monsters drop the wall, taking down the first line of defense. Overflowing with spite, he warns that the bugs making jokes about the future the Northern warrior saved are gonna pay a heavy price. With a firm hand signal, the order to charge head on gets yelled across the battlefield. At crazy speeds, the monsters rush forward, cracking the ground as they head straight for the shooters. Panicking, the preppy kid stammers, completely unable to process how fast that squad is moving. In absolute shock, one of the goons cries in terror realizing the skeletons are sprinting like track stars. Facing absolute fear, Dalton begs his crew to hold the line right as the fatal impact hits. Slashing and wrecking everything in their path, the Bone Army pulls off an absolute sweep in the enemy camp. Keeping his cool, the young lord drops the command for the second squad of crossbowmen to lock down the zone. Hidden in the tree branches, the monsters aim dead center at the heads of the panicking mercenaries. Prepping their gear, the creatures just wait for the green light to unleash a storm of projectiles. Screaming in terror, the crew spots the long-range setup and desperately tries to dip out. But it was way too late to retreat when the arrows pierced right through those chumps without a shred of pity. With lethal aim, one of the shots goes straight through a fighter's skull, neutralizing the guy on the spot. In a move of pure desperation, Dalton manages to slice one of the monsters in half with his sword. Sweating bullets, the coward notices these lightning-fast beasts are nothing like the slow-motion monsters he used to know. Switching up the game plan, the rich kid screams for his gang to ditch the bows and go for close combat throwdowns. Furious, he realizes nobody is listening to his orders in the middle of that bloody chaos. Gripping his blade tight, the little villain forces a twisted laugh, thinking he still has a shot. Cursing the undead, he charges in, swinging heavy hits at the air. Convinced he found the weak spot, the idiot celebrates, landing a clean hit on the creature's skull. Falling backward, the bone frame hits the dirt, looking totally finished. Panning hard, the guy thinks it is wild that the monster is still moving around even without its head. Laughing at everyone else's cluelessness, the former Necromancer just watches his cousin act like a clown. In a creepy twist, the beast grabs its own fallen skull and just snaps it right back onto its neck, cracking its frame back into place. The Shadow Warrior rebuilds itself, showing exactly why the demon ruled the continent back in the day. Mind-blown, Dalton Blue screams, realizing the beings summoned with forbidden magic are basically immortal. With their eye sockets glowing with fire, the monster waits for the next tactical order from its boss. Scared out of their minds, the goons give up all hope against that unbeatable battalion. Strolling through his servants, the Platinum Boy controls the pace of the takedown. Checking his own stamina, our MC admits that in this nerfed body, he can only keep 11 warriors standing. Playing mind games, he laughs and asks if their little hunting game is over yet. Suddenly, the scene cuts to a loud, obnoxious laugh echoing near the palace fountain. Chilling right there, the gossiping priest is telling ancient monastery legends to the curious maid. Cracking up, the redhead is loving her boss's embarrassing past, while the cleric keeps a straight face. Noticing how much she cares, the giant religious dude points out how attached the girl is to the main character. Pouting her cheeks, the little kid fires back that this is the most obvious thing in the world. Right after, her flashbacks show the boy acting as a human shield and ordering people to stop hurting her. Shaking with fear, some random bully is crying on the floor after catching a well-deserved beatdown. Wrecking the aggressor, the Platinum Boy protected the maid's honor without thinking twice. Forgetting about the flying fists, the girl only remembers the times he split his snacks with her. Driven by pure innocence, she swears up and down that the ex-wizard is the sweetest person in the entire universe. Back to the forest, the ice-cold look of the blood-stained kid proves the exact opposite. Wrecking their rivals with zero chill, the Shadow Army turns the place into a literal meat grinder. Blocking a heavy hit, the preppy cousin grits his teeth, feeling the impact rattle his arm. Using whatever gas he had left in the tank, the guy claps back, launching the monster away with a spinning strike. Huffing with anger, the coward realizes he needs to shut down the horde's endless respawns. Locking onto the puppet master, the idiot zeroes in on the main character standing all the way in the back. Making a risky jump, the little villain ignores the skeletons and charges straight at the main target. Screaming his cousin's name, Dalton brings down his blade, fueled by pure aggressive instinct. Going crazy, he yells that if he takes out the master, the spell is going to break instantly. Unleashing his final burst of hate, the glowing attack cuts through the air straight toward the main character's body. Locking in his mystic vision, the former Necromancer turns on the stolen ability to predict movements. Gripping the handle of his sword, purple energy wraps around the training weapon. Hitting the perfect stance, he gets ready to unleash the family's ultimate technique that he memorized earlier. Recognizing his older brother's fighting style, the cousin completely loses his mind. Crossing the battlefield, the monstrous impact of the meteor strike clashes head on with the enemy's weapon. Shattering the fancy blade, the attack lands dead center on the coward's chest, making him bleed out. Looking down at the trash on the ground, the main character coldly announces that the payback session has just begun. Spitting red into the grass, the defeated guy struggles to breathe while the wizard slowly walks up. Thinking back to his own game, over moment, our MC confirms that taking out the summoner is the fatal flaw of necromancy. Channeling demonic energy in the palm of his hand, he reflects on his dark history. Gripping the sword tight, the irony hits hard as he uses his old rival's style to defend himself today. Accepting his karma, the kid realizes that his executor's bloodline turned him into someone way more overpowered. Laid out on the floor, the cousin hears the monster's words without catching a single bit of meaning. Shaking in pain, the rich kid tries to question his relative's crazy talk. Stepping firmly on the loser, the platinum boy mentally swears to put in work for his ancestor. Taking over the whole situation, he declares he is going to rebuild that broken dukedom with his own two hands. Switching scenes, the little villain wakes up dizzy in a completely dark and weird place. Feeling his hands tied to some wood, he squints, trying to see through the pitch black. Realizing he is in deep trouble, he notices he is strapped to a very uncomfortable spiky chair. Rattling the chains, the guy loses it, demanding answers from the mystery shadow hiding in the dark. Showing his old face, the great Necromancer announces that this right here is the afterlife underworld he built himself. Stuttering in fear, the coward repeats the demon's name while shrinking back into his seat. Listing the trash's crimes, the entity brings up how he abused and eliminated the hunting dogs. Refreshing the psycho's memory, flashbacks show his sick joy while shooting arrows at the animals. Screaming like a lunatic, the prisoner denies everything and demands to be untied immediately. Cutting the tantrum short, the coward finally starts putting the pieces together. Reliving the shock of the meteor attack, he remembers his chest getting sliced open by the sword perfectly. Seeing his own body without a single scratch, he hears the cold hard truth that his run has come to an end. Crying in pure panic, the noble refuses to accept his fate and demands to go back to the real world. Ignoring the loser's tears, the Dark Lord manipulates the soul fire, kicking off the eternal torment. Without an ounce of pity, the Bone Battalion starts a brutal cleanup in the camp. Flexing some elegance, the young lord orders the second squad of archers to push forward. Hidden in the branches, the creepy creatures aim straight for the enemy's skulls. Gripping their crossbows, the warriors just wait for the attack signal. Freaking out, the goons spot the ambush and try to book it, calling for a retreat. In the blink of an eye, the arrow rain drops heavy, turning the fools into human pincushions. With crazy accuracy, one of the projectiles goes right through a criminal's head instantly. Fueled by adrenaline, the rich kid manages to snap a skeleton in half with one swing. Sweaty and stressed, the coward realizes these beasts are built completely different from your standard ghosts. Suddenly, the little villain orders his crew to drop the bows and start throwing hands up close. Blind with rage, the commander notices nobody is listening to his orders in the middle of that chaotic mess. Holding his blade steady, the idiot forces a smile, genuinely believing he can actually win this fight. Taken over by hate, the noble charges in, slicing the wind against the army of the fallen. Landing a hit right on the weak spot, the preppy guy celebrates a flawless strike to the monster's head. To his shock, the creepy frame drops into the bushes looking like it is down for good. Gasping for air, the villain finds it super weird that the headless creature keeps moving around. Amused by his cousin's sheer stupidity, the ex-necromancer just laughs, enjoying the VIP view of the show. In a bizarre move, the freak picks up its own head from the dirt and pops it back onto its neck like it is nothing. With a crack of its joints, the warrior bounces back, proving the power of the demon from the past. Jaw on the floor, the cousin short circuits, realizing these pests do not fade out easily. Leaking magic from its eye sockets, the beast locks onto its target, ready for a lethal strike. Completely terrified, the mercenaries lose every last drop of hope of making it out in one piece. Super chill amidst the chaos, the Platinum Boy dictates the entire rhythm of the takedown. Because of how fragile his current body is, the hero realizes that keeping 11 summons active is his absolute limit. Mocking the whole scene, the kid asks if playtime is finally over. Right after, a memory interrupts the vibe, bringing back the girl's laugh from the castle. Sitting right there, the chatty cleric shares old stories with the young maid. Super hyped. The redhead loves digging up embarrassing moments from when her little boss was younger. Because she cares so much, the big guy mentions how she is always defending the boss. Pouting, the little kid fires back that doing that is the absolute bare minimum she should do. At that very second, the memory pulls up the day our boy acted as a human shield to protect the girl. Knocked on the floor, a bully is crying with a busted face, looking super sore. With a clean hit, the Platinum Boy wrecked the aggressor to keep his friend out of danger. Brushing past the violence, the girl only focuses on the time he shared his cookie stash with her. Driven by pure innocence, the little one claims the reincarnated wizard is the sweetest person on earth. But in real life, the kid's creepy stare completely shatters any illusion of him being a nice guy. Pushing forward like a bulldozer, the shadow troops turn the forest into a noble, wrecking zone. Setting up his guard, the cousin tanks a monster hit and almost chips his teeth from the impact. Running on pure reflexes, the coward pushes the skeleton back, firing off a heavy spinning attack. Boiling with anger, the idiot decides he needs to pull the plug on the horde's endless respawns. Squinting his eyes, the villain spots the puppet master standing, still in the back of the field with 0 guards. In a spike of crazy confidence, the rich kid ditches his men and sprints straight toward the main target. Almost foaming at the mouth, the preppy guy raises his blade, ready to slice up his unprotected relative. Yelling his lungs out, the guy justifies that taking out the summoner turns off all the creatures on the spot. Releasing his final wave of fury, the sword comes down, slicing the air right toward our main character's skull. With his cursed eye activated, the former villain perfectly predicts all the hidden movements. Gripping the training weapon, purple energy coats the blade in a millisecond. Pulling off a flawless copy, he positions himself to drop the forbidden technique he recorded in his brain. Facing his brother's fighting stance, the attacker freezes mid-air, completely hijacked by panic. Like a lightning bolt, the legendary meteor sword blasts into the villain with insane force. Upon impact, the luxury blade shatters, and the hit tears a massive gap in the preppy kid's chest. Short and sweet, the wizard tells the trash on the floor that the real judgment has just started. With red dripping from his mouth, the loser struggles to pull air into his wrecked lungs. In a quick flashback, our MC remembers he actually lost his own life because of that exact same weakness. With magic glowing in his hand, the Dark Lord misses his old limitless power. Thanks to a crazy twist of fate, the very same technique from the family that took him out is now keeping him safe. Aware of his karma, the kid notices the rival's skill just upgraded his attack options. Tossed in the mud, the loser does not understand a single word of the guy's monologue. Terrified out of his mind, the rich kid stutters, demanding to know what all that crazy talk means. Ignoring the pest, the hero promises that his fallen ancestor is going to get a VIP view of everything. Full of confidence, the main character swears to rebuild the Sword Clan from the ground up. Announcing the end of the sinners, the priest steps up with his fists, glowing with pure light. With a sick spark in his eye, the psycho orders the enemies to beg for mercy. Calling down a fire ritual, the priest pops the goons' heads with violent blasts. Sprinting in full panic mode, the thugs try to escape that aggressive house of cleaning. Stomping his foot hard, the impact crushes the floor, leaving a dark crater behind. Showing zero pity, the divine power blasts multiple skulls at once in a sea of red. Raising the golden book, the executioner seals the criminal's fate, delivering the final sentence. Barely believing it, the gang boss asks what a church agent is doing way out in the woods. Strutting over the bodies, the cleric radiates pure terror across the whole area. Doing a 180, the mercenary runs for his life, cursing his client for this massive setup. Picking up the pace, the rat only cares about dipping out, thinking this whole situation is absolutely wild. Shattering any hope of escape, the giant's heavy hand clamps around the runner's skull mid-air. Screaming in pain, the coward cries as the fingers crush his face with unreal strength. Wrapping up the horror show, the crazy guy flashes a cold smile, letting him know he still has to finish his prayer. Terrified of his final sentence, the coward cries tears of pure desperation. Summoning the power of the light, the cleric fires off a devastating attack with absolutely no mercy. Suddenly, our boy does a quick jump to dodge the incoming danger. In a creepy turn of events, An eyeball rolls through the grass, stopping right next to his shoe. Cold and collected, the Platinum Boy stares at the bizarre scene while hearing his name get shouted. With just a steady stride, the executioner walks straight toward the kid. Just from the big guy's overwhelming presence, our hero already starts sweating bullets. In total shock, the ex-villain realizes dozens of bodies just got vaporized in the snap of a finger. Out of nowhere, the brute's bloody hand reaches out, almost locking onto the kid's neck. Grabbing the young master's shoulder, the cleric announces he sniffed out a necromancer and rushed over. With a highly suspicious smirk, the giant mentions that something is really off about this whole story. Without letting go of the Platinum Kid, the crazy dude points out that the magic he tracked just vanished into thin air. Switching to a dead, serious glare, the priest figures out the spell did not belong to the trash that just got defeated. Drowning in tension, our boy gulps hard, noticing just how sharp that annoying guy actually is. Cornered by the massive hand, our hero knows any slip-up is going to lead to his own game over right then and there. Saving the day for everyone, Commander Dunkel shows up in the distance, riding in at top speed. Clearly panicking, the bodyguard yells, asking if the boss is still in one piece. Relieved by the interruption, the kid turns his head, calling out for his backup. Bleeding from his head, the reincarnated wizard realizes that pulling off heavy magic in that weak body came with a massive tax. Absolutely terrified upon seeing the injury, the knight lets out a yell of pure panic. Jumping off his horse, the warrior sprints like a maniac toward the duo. Overflowing with worry, Dunkel catches the young master, demanding to know what went down, while the kid mumbles that his legs just gave out. Groaning in pain, the Platinum Boy listens to the soldier interrogate him about where the coward cousin went. Blunt and straight to the point, the former demon casually admits he sent his relative straight to the grave. Next, the scene shifts to the luxury palace, showing our MC claiming self-defense against an assassination ambush. In a fit of rage, a heavy hand slams onto the wooden table, demanding immediate answers. Shaking with anger, Count Delkin yells, refusing to believe his own son tried to take out the alleged heir. In the middle of a massive hearing room, the furious dad swears the deceased was a loyal and honorable warrior. Totally ice cold, Duke Heinkel holds up a stack of papers, ordering them to focus on the real culprit. Standing his ground, the leader defends that his youngest kid sat through hours of questioning without changing a single detail of his story. Showing no mercy, he drops the evidence, proving the side branch hired 20 mercenaries to pull off the hit. Completely cornered, the side branch boss sweats bullets, mentally trashing his goons for leaving a paper trail. Panicking, the noble yells that the story is absolute nonsense, since the Platinum Kid never even held a sword in his life. Up in the stands, rumors fly wild, questioning how a magicless nobody could have taken down an elite warrior. Thinking only of himself, the branch boss realizes that taking the blame means going down with his dead hair. Real quick, the scammer flips his script and starts attacking our hero's character to try and turn the tables. Dragging up the past, the old man brings up the late Duchess's rep and the kid's old claims of being the Demon King. Furious at the disrespect, Lord Heinkel tells his rival to wash his mouth out before calling his bloodline a liar. Cooking up a wild theory, the Count screams that the main character hired Hitman himself, until a deep voice shuts the yapping down completely. In a flash, the accuser freezes from head to toe, recognizing the owner of that threatening voice. Stepping firmly down the stairs, our boy announces he sat quietly through this freak show up until this very moment. Without blinking, the ex-villain uses Father Garrison's vouch, confirming he only defended himself against monsters brought back by someone else. Ticked off, the opponent calls the argument a blatant lie, while our boy flashes an ironic smirk. With pure sarcasm, the Platinum Kid throws the question right back, asking if the rumor about him being evil incarnate is also true. Foaming with hate, the side branch noble grits his teeth, while our hero makes a dark promise in his head. With his eye glowing with pure magic, the kid vows to rebuild the Ducom without letting these bugs stain the family's history. Ready to crush the cocky side branch, the ex-wizard is snapped out of his thoughts by firm knocks on the hall's massive double doors. Like magic, golden threads weave through the entrance, apologizing for crashing the tense meeting. Carrying an overwhelming aura, Commander Leia makes a grand entrance, silencing the entire room instantly. Suspicious of the setup, the kid finds it weird that the warrior showed up to a strictly family-only trial. Sitting in his seat, Duke Heinkel takes charge, giving the green light for the blonde to join, even though she is from a different house. Backing up the call, the Patriarch points out that the deceased used to run missions directly under the lady's military command. Right after, the commander takes off her coat, making it clear she is flexing top-tier authority in there. In the blink of an eye, the two lock eyes in a tense stare down, and the warrior drops an unexpected demand. Without stalling, the Spear Master demands a private chat with our hero, leaving him completely confused. Totally lost, the kid questions the order, while his dad clears the talk as long as they make it quick. Even though he hates it, the main character follows the Duke's command, with no way to dodge it or make up excuses. Annoyed to the max internally, the young master curses knights as a whole, always sticking their noses in everyone's business. Flipping the script, the ex-wizard realizes this solo chat might hand him some seriously valuable intel. Walking down the stairs, he figures the blonde is probably testing the waters, looking for the clan's dirty laundry. Fully locked in, the guy crosses the doorway, promising himself he is not going to back down from his main goal. Isolated in a private hallway, the former Necromancer plans to use the rival clan's influence to boost his own agenda. To everyone's surprise, the warrior's intimidating vibe breaks with a close, upshot focusing right on her toned legs, getting right in the kid's face. The spear lady makes a bizarrely weird request, leaving him stunned. Eye to eye with the stunner, the wizard gets tongue-tied, telling her to repeat the wild thing she just said. Officially, the blonde is the prodigy daughter of one of the kingdom's top 3 dukedoms, and an absolute master with the spear. In the history books, records prove this woman wiped out packs of nasty ogres without breaking a sweat. Standing under a rain of giant axes, the commander looked flawless, facing the danger head-on. Coated in pure blue energy, the warrior cleared out the western woods in a brutal military sweep. Ripping the monsters apart mid-air, she wrapped up the hunt and brought peace to the civilians, all by herself. Blessed with monstrous strength, the girl carries the weight of entire armies on her back. Snapping back to the present, the impatient lady calls the kid out, telling him to pick up the pace in the hallway. Trying to keep up, the guy gets shut down immediately, hearing that they are not even real relatives. Digging through his memories, the wizard remembers his dad explaining the messy noble marriage web, and it clicks. Biologically separated by different moms, the blonde makes it crystal clear they are total strangers ready to make a deal. With a dramatic tear, the warrior warns him that this chat is purely driven by personal curiosity now. Moving fast, the blonde grabs our boy's shirt, giving him a massive jump scare. With her face inches from his, the commander drops the question of whether she can touch the guy. Completely glitching out, the platinum boy repeats the question, not understanding this random sudden closeness. Moving way too fast, the spear lady does not even wait for an answer and grabs the kid's hand. Inspecting his skin closely, the beauty notices his hand is smooth as a baby's, with 0 calluses or scars. Panicking on the inside, our boy finds the inspection super weird, especially hearing her say any trained swordsman has battle marks. Squeezing his fingers, the woman states as a fact that tendons do not lie. Straight to the point, the warrior drops the truth that the young guy has never picked up a weapon in his life. Putting the puzzle together, the blonde asks how a total rookie managed to completely sweep Dalton and 20 trained mercenaries. Right then, the suspicion of a hidden, dark power hangs super heavy in the air. Getting defensive, our wizard aggressively shoves the commander away. Flashing a cynical smile, the guy mocks her, asking if she also thinks he is the devil reincarnated. Judging by her sharp look, it is obvious this is not just curiosity, and any hesitation is going to confirm her suspicions. Deciding to play the game, the ex-villain puts on a cocky act and throws a, "What if I am?" right in her face. Laughing mockingly, the platinum boy makes fun of the absurd theory. Completely fooled, the woman relaxes her stance, claiming it would be impossible for some brat to be the legendary Dark Lord. Super offended, the main character's eyes go wide hearing the random insult. Filled with pure indignation, the kid asks her to repeat that, and the warrior confirms the roast without blinking. Showing 0 mercy to the guy's self-esteem, the blonde lists all his physical flaws, guaranteeing he commands absolutely 0 respect. With his pride dragged through the mud, the former necromancer shrinks back, while hearing a very random challenge from the girl. Being super direct, the commander promises to give the boy a kiss, if he can prove he can take down a knight. Looking like a total deer in headlights, our hero sees 0 perks in this prize and thinks the offer is totally useless. On the way to the main hall, our MC wrecks his brain trying to figure out if that was a bribe or a political play. Pausing one last time before walking in, the golden-haired woman drops one more warning. In a mysterious tone, she whispers that the real demon would never act like that. Instantly, the doe's footsteps echo through the courtroom while the guards announce their arrival. Looking at the packed crowd, the platinum boy mentally admits he was way too naive for playing the easy target all these years. Clearly, nobody in there is going to buy a self-defense story coming from the main family's useless youngest kid. Sitting on the courtroom throne, Patriarch Heinkel breaks the silence, demanding to know what that secret chat was all about. Shocking everyone, the kid grabs the confiscated sword of his dead cousin with a firm grip. With a heavy strike, the young master slams the blade into the hall's floor, entirely shifting the vibe. Right away, The visual impact of that move leaves the nobles, and even the commander with their jaws on the floor. Locking eyes with the side branch leader, the little wizard declares he is going to prove his innocence by force. Out of patience for red tape, the guy suggests settling the beef the raw, violent northern way. Throwing down a direct challenge, the ex-Necromancer demands an official trial by combat. The entire hall turns into chaos, full of whispers and gasps over the crazy proposal. Historically, this barbaric method lets any dispute get settled by throwing hands with zero weapon limits. Dripping in sweat, the cowardly count stutters, trying to make up an excuse to dodge the duel. Showing no mercy to the enemy's absolute nerve, the Platinum Boy reminds him that even with proof of the ambush, the old man tried to frame him. Even if he does not care about his mom in this new life, he makes it clear that disrespecting the direct bloodline crossed the line. Gripping the sword handle tight, the kid tells the secondary patriarch to make a decision already. Feeling the pressure from the nobles judging him, the scammer realizes he has nowhere to run. With a booming voice, the Supreme Lord stamps his approval on the clash, validating the northern tradition. Luckily for the scumbag, the judge declares that all evidence from the previous crime is officially thrown out. Given a golden opportunity, the preppy guy gets his swagger back and mocks the kid's lack of magic energy. Full of malice, the old man announces he has the right to send a substitute champion to slice up the hair. Totally ice cold, the little wizard tells the guy to go kick rocks, promising to broadcast live how he wrecked his son. Falling right into the trap, the coward accepts the challenge and schedules the beatdown for exactly 4 days from now. During the deal, the warrior commander just studies the kid's audacity, seeing how he plans to use this drama as a stepping stone. Outside, night falls over the mansion, kicking off the crazy plan to flip the dukedom upside down. Inside the private rooms, a scream of absolute denial echoes, rattling the crystal chandeliers. Freaking out with worry, the perfect older brother drops a massive lecture on the youngest kid's suicidal stunt. Making the danger super clear, the blonde guy loses his cool, while our hero just scratches his ear looking bored. After dropping the news that the patriarch gave his blessing, the platinum kid leaves the older brother totally speechless. Trying to play the hero, the swordsman offers himself as a stand-in but gets a flat no, right to his face. Backing it up, the wizard admits the main bloodline only stays on top thanks to their dad and the firstborn's talent. Keeping it real, the ex-villain tells the blonde to wake up and smell the cruel reality of noble life. The truth is, fighting in the useless kid's place would just hand the side. Branch rats the perfect excuse to delete the hair for good. Knowing his brother is frustrated, the guy promises that a little violence is the only way to erase his useless reputation. Crossing his arms like a boss, the young master declares he is not handing his revenge stage over to anybody. Getting emotional, the blonde swordsman remembers the bright day he ran to meet his newborn little brother. In those pure memories, the kid's tiny hand tried to catch the window light in the most innocent way. That moment warmed the boy's heart, seeing an actual white-haired angel in the crib. Being stubborn, the blonde rejects the blood differences and cries over losing his little brother to the monastery back then. Acting on a protective impulse, the soldier grabs the main character's skinny shoulders, trying to shake some sense into him. Dropping a genuine tear, the older brother begs him to listen. Used to being stabbed in the back, the Dark Lord glitches internally, not understanding why someone would show such real emotion. Before the family drama gets out of hand, bodyguard Dunkel kicks the door open, ruining the moment. Looking super serious, the huge knight announces that the side branch just picked their executioner for the fight. Curious, both brothers ask who the threat is, and the name Randall rings out like a lethal warning. Holding his criminal record, the guard says the guy is an ex-knight kicked out of the order with a terrifying rep. Looking absolutely terrifying, the visual of an angry lion perfectly matches the opponent's savage nature. Far away in some gross dive bar, a wooden cup gets filled to the brim with some highly suspicious beverage. Surrounded by knocked-out mercenaries and broken bones, the bald monster chugs his drink, drowning his endless thirst for violence. Gulping it down, the bald beast hydrates right under a stuffed lion's head. Flashing a sadistic smile, the big guy admits it has been a minute since he heard a little kid scream. Meanwhile, a brand new training sword is handed over to our hero. Handing over the weapon, the bodyguard mentions he forged the gear exactly how the young master asked. Knowing it is fragile, the platinum boy already knows the steel is going to turn to dust if it clashes with a mana-infused blade. Happy with the game plan, the little wizard announces it is go time and tells everybody to roll out. Full of swagger, the kid walks with his head high, ready to face the lethal challenge. Down at the combat arena, the packed crowd starts whispering, amazed by the kid's guts. Sitting right next to the patriarch, the scammer count laughs at the kid's absolute nerve to show up for his own beatdown. Overflowing with mockery, The old man announces his champion is a heavyweight Imperial Knight and is gonna crush the magicless kid. Keeping completely quiet, the family leader listens to his rival suggest swapping him out for the older brother. Looking left and right, the main character searches the sandy arena for his opponent. Annoyed by the hold-up, the ex-villain complains in his head, wondering where the heck the executioner is hiding. Suddenly, a massive shadow covers the kid's skinny frame, throwing a super heavy vibe into the air. Staring down his target, the monster named Randall shows off his facial scars, confirming the Lord's identity. Caught off guard, the Platinum Kid hears the giant mention. He looks way younger than the rumors said. Stretching his thick fingers, the Psycho looks at the kid's tiny arms and imagines the sound of his neck snapping. In the blink of an eye, the kid backs up at insane speed, leaving the side, branch goons completely shocked. Laughing his head off, the Count celebrates the quick retreat, thinking the main hair is already shaking in his boots. Loving the panic, the brute smiles wide, watching his prey scurry away like a scared little cat. Wiping away a cold sweat, the little wizard swears it wasn't fear, just a legit jump scare from how huge the guy is. Immediately, his brain flashes back to the gossip priest's heavy hand squeezing his shoulder in the past. Cursing the cleric in his head, the young master complains about his cursed holy water trauma. From the top of the stands, the warrior commander watches everything looking bored, while the guard tells them to reset. Not buying the excuse, the blonde brings up their crazy bet, guaranteeing she will pay up the kiss if the kid wins. Staring at the arena dirt, the main character turns his head, knowing he urgently needs to test a theory. Fake, coughing to hide the embarrassment of running away. The kid makes up a story about having a stiff neck lately. Remembering the giant hand almost crushing his head, the kid locks in for what he is actually about to face. Looking dead serious, the ex-necromancer goes off, telling the giant creep to keep his hands off him. Triggered by the insult, the muscular bald guy's face twitches, feeling his blood boil with rage. Clapping back, the brute hits a nerve about the imperial abandonment, but gives the kid props for having a slick mouth. Raising his heavy fist, the monster brings the hammer down hard, promising to make him scream in pain. Brutally, the punch shatters the stone floor, kicking up dust and chunks of dirt everywhere. Totally confused, the giant's eyes go wide realizing he just punched thin air. Lifting his fingers, he notices he only snagged the kid's fancy coat, letting his target slip away without a scratch. Screaming in the stands, the nobles freak out seeing the insane damage caused by a basic punch. Cranking his neck, the ex-knight searches for the main hair through the smoke of the impact. Way out of the danger zone, the kid in his dress shirt waits patiently, gripping his training sword. Evaluating that raw power, the platinum boy sighs, admitting that going head to head with this psycho is a one-way ticket to Snoozeville. Pushing forward like a freight train, the brute throws his entire weight into a violent strike against the kid. Stressed to the max, the blonde brother yells that even a graze from that monster will shatter every bone in the kid's body. Full of anxiety, the firstborn is absolutely certain his little brother is walking straight into his grave. Remembering last night, the wizard turns down his hair brother's help, so he does not hand the traitors an excuse to wipe out the pure bloodline. Spinning the steel weapon, the giant goes for a lethal slash, whipping up a deadly wave of wind. Putting all his rage into his arm, the ex-imperial warrior brings the heavy blade down without a single drop of pity. Activating his magic eye, the main character tracks the hit and dodges it with scary agility. Failing miserably, the bald guy's sword strike just hits the vacuum, slicing the arena air. Consumed by anger, the big guy chains together a series of fierce slashes to corner the little kid. Jumping backward at an insane speed, the guy dodges a trail of dirt spikes ripping through the floor. Roaring his target's name, the executioner leaps, aiming right for the kid's head with a vertical drop. Deflecting the hit at the last second, the hero slips away while hearing the giant ask if he thinks he can win just by playing tag. Trying to force a mistake, the bald guy asks why the supposed great necromancer isn't using his dark magic. Keeping the pressure on, the mercenary yells, asking where the famous power of the continent's demon is. Tired of this yapping, the little wizard boils with hate on the inside, thinking about summoning the horde and ending everyone right there. Spotting an opening, the ex-knight jumps high, ready to slice the kid right down the middle. Watching from afar, the traitor lord sweats bullets, thinking his champion is taking it easy on purpose. Totally confused, the old scammer cannot figure out how the brat is surviving this storm of attacks. Quickly, a creepy vision takes over, showing the true aura of the Grim Reaper standing right behind the kid. Sweating buckets, the branch lord turns to the patriarch, demanding to know why the brute is suddenly backing off. Pointing his training weapon, the main character swears up and down he is not going to use a single drop of dark magic. Overflowing with fake pride, the platinum boy claims he carries the sword's bloodline and will win this using pure physical combat. Hearing that heroic speech, the distant dad and the fanboy brother widen their eyes, completely amazed. Buying the act instantly, the whole crowd goes wild, screaming the youngest kid's name like actual superfans. Seeing the act work flawlessly, the cowardly count bites his lip in pure frustration. Trying to chill out, the old guy promises himself that the brat is just running away and cannot handle a real fight. Getting the message, the bald monster channels a massive red aura, covering his blade in pure energy. Knowing the kid has zero magic, the giant reminds him that imperial strength comes from burning mana without limits. Flexing every fiber of his body, the mercenary's muscles double in size, and his veins pop out ready to burst. In a blast of absurd power, the brute brings down the scarlet axe, creating a tornado of impact. Convinced he has the win, the executioner roars, sending the main family straight to the Shadow Realm in one brutal strike. Without blinking, the ex-villain's magic eye glows bright purple, tracking every single particle of that lethal energy. Diving into the core of the attack, the boy decodes the entire technique and the enemy's magic capacity. Predicting the future, the wizard sees the exact path of the blades, slicing the wind in red streaks. In a dirty move, the giant reaches out his free hand to squish the kid like a bug. Screaming at the top of his lungs, the ex-imperial warrior plunges his energy blade down to end the fight once and for all. With raw power, the giant brings the sword down, triggering a red energy blast that tears everything up. Kicking up dust on impact, the brute searches for his target but gets totally confused when he vanishes. Shocked, the mercenary realizes the kid dipped out and wonders if the brat actually read the strike's path that fast. High above the monster's head, our hero is already dropping down with his weapon prepped for an attack. Cold and calculated, the little wizard points out that a body that huge leaves the back wide open. Busting out the famous meteor sword, the kid nails the giant's back with a lethal purple flash. Totally stunned, the crowd recognizes the family's secret move. While the blonde brother's jaw hits the floor, screaming in pain, the bald guy loses it, unable to believe he just caught a massive hit to the back. Smirking, the ex-necromancer flexes his magic eye while the nobles wonder how he pulled that off with zero mana. Up in the stands, the extras side eye the warrior commander, looking for some kind of explanation. Completely caught off guard, the red-eyed blonde cannot hide her shock at the scene. Far away, the bodyguard thinks to himself that normally, he would have jumped into the brawl to protect his boss by now. In a quick flashback, the soldier admits to the Duke that acting on emotion would just make the family's rep even worse. Super worried, the knight warned the patriarch that the youngest kid did not stand a chance against an imperial warrior. Calm and collected, the old man explained the boy went out there to defend his late mom's honor. Heavy with guilt, the leader admits he couldn't even save his son from the monastery back in the day. Frowning, the patriarch states that at the end of the day, he cannot protect anything, and tells the guard to chill. Back in the present, the big guy stares at the arena with a focused look locked on the young master. Dodging lethal strikes, our MC proves he doesn't step into a fight just to take an L. From the VIP throne, his dad watches the kid's every move with extreme focus. On paper, the family's sword style focuses on saving mana to survive the freezing northern cold. On the flip side, the imperial style acts like a lion hunting its prey with raw, brutal force. Burning energy like crazy, the empire's setup focuses on crushing the enemy by dropping all their magic at once. In a quick comparison, the northern technique is like sniping a rabbit the exact second it slips up. Focused on precision, the style burns the least amount of magic possible, striking like an eagle. With surgical perfection, the attack only happens in the absolute perfect gap of the enemy's defense. Gripping his weapon tight, the little wizard proves he fully understands the family's lethal core. Even without a single drop of energy, the kid smiles confidently, guaranteeing the technique makes up for the lack of power. Shaking with hate, the bald mercenary realizes the kid's attack packs more than enough damage to hurt him. Gritting his teeth, the executioner calls the hero a rat and promises instant payback. Exploding in pure fury, the monster unleashes a sea of scarlet energy that floods the entire arena. Yelling his lungs out, the imperial warrior looks like he is about to lose control from all the magic packed in his body. Feeling the heat, the stands go into full panic, recognizing the champion's ultimate trump card. Projecting the image of a demonic lion, the move locks down the movements of anyone trying to run away. Chilling in the middle of the storm, the platinum boy just laughs in the face of the juiced up brute. Believing the tables have turned, the giant drops the strike, screaming that the win is already his. Freaking out in the crowd, the blonde brother yells for the youngest kid to watch out for the impact. In a brutal clash, the heavy blade hits its mark, but our MC blocks it by crossing his training sword. Quickly, the blacksmith's warning flashes back, confirming the weak steel will turn to dust against pure magic. Exactly as predicted, the kid's weapon shatters into 1,000 pieces upon impact. Smiling wide, the bald guy celebrates breaking the defense, thinking he finally bagged the win. Wasting no time, the villain already cues up another fatal strike to slice the unarmed kid in half, but with his magic eye turned on, the ex-necromancer flashes a devilish smile, revealing his plan worked perfectly. Like a feather dropping from the sky, the kid's trap sets itself up completely silently. Repping the imperial style, the giant lion does not even notice the incoming danger of being so light. Coming from above, the shadow of the predatory eagle covers the beast entirely, ready for the takedown. Gripping the broken handle tight, our hero pulls what is left of the useless sword. Using the sharp stump, he slashes the mercenary's chest with a deep, lightning, fast purple cut. Immediately, the big guy's hand loses all its strength, dropping his weapon onto the dirt. Watching the surgical strike, the patriarch raises his voice, calling an end to the match. Around the arena, everyone is in absolute shock, and the scammer count gulps hard hearing the official loss. Amazed by the scene, the bodyguard admits the kid mastered the technique with zero magic in his system. In a genius play, the kid let his weapon break on purpose so he could land a point-blank hit. Cold as ice, the hero turns his back, sealing his absolute victory in front of the whole crowd. Knocked into the dirt, the mercenary screams in agony, grabbing the stump of his detached arm. Racing against the clock, the medics rush the field to save the loser from bleeding out. Ignoring the chaos, the Platinum Boy watches the doctors flash healing light onto the nasty injury. Curious about the medical tech of this era, the kid asks if they can actually glue the arm back on. Disappointed, he hears that magic only seals the wound, and the big guy is going to need a prosthetic. Complaining in his head about how outdated healing spells are, the kid gets called out by his dad's voice. With a serious face, the patriarch asks if the youngest kid doesn't feel a single ounce of pity for the damage he caused. Catching his own massive slip up, the ex-wizard sweats cold, realizing he acted way too unbothered for a normal kid. Quickly, he grabs his head and fakes being dizzy from nerves to throw the old man off his scent. Nearby, the traitor count loses his mind, remembering the massive bag he dropped on that useless mercenary. Demanding the bet's payout, the patriarch tells his rival to confess his crimes, but the scammer just yells his refusal. Foaming at the mouth, the coward plays the victim, crying that he already lost his son and his house's top fighter. Before he can finish his pity party, the old man's head goes flying from a clean, violent swing by the kid. Locking his focus on the deceased, the main character calls out the traitor's name without showing a single drop of emotion. Slowly, the rival leader's headless body drops heavy, staining the arena red. Already in the spirit world, the preppy guy's soul feels the cut on his neck and hears his executioner's cold voice. Getting right up in the ghost's face, the little wizard orders the sinner to confess everything to the true Northern Lord. In a creepy whisper, the hero demands the soul to get on its knees and beg for divine mercy. Instantly, a dark flame wraps around the spirit, locking in the scumbag's endless punishment. Taking on his legendary Grim Reaper form, the Necromancer judges the traitor in the underworld without blinking. Wrapping up the bizarre scene, the ghost screams in pure agony as it gets consumed by the purple fire of eternal doom. Holding the traitor's soul, the executioner announces that it is time to pay up for his sins. Right after, fierce dogs spawn from the beyond, growling and ready to bite. Without an ounce of pity, the dogs attack the ghost under orders to make him listen to the howls of the lives he took. Shaking with terror, Delkin hears that he literally created this nightmare himself while he was alive. Screaming in agony, the coward melts while getting chewed up by the exact same dogs he used to mistreat. Completely falling apart, the traitor's face turns into a creepy pile of mush in the middle of his endless torture. Back in the real world, the young Platinum Boy takes a deep breath, keeping up his usual act. Suddenly, the crazy priest pops up behind him, giving the kid a massive jump scare. Flashing a cynical smile, our MC says he is going to reward the bone monster for helping out in the fight. Using a release spell, the wizard breaks the skeleton's curse, handing his ally some eternal rest. Turning to dust in the wind, the freed soul says thanks, but the kid wonders what the real reason behind his respawn is. Wasting no time, the religious dude mentions he did not expect to see the little boss using pure necromancy. Suspicious, the hero wonders if the psycho saw the whole thing and demands to know who he really is. Hiding in the shadows, a mysterious hooded guy tells the kid he does not need to know anything. Using dark magic, the intruder funnels energy right over Dalton's body. Instantly, the dead guy's eyes glow with a weird blue light. Spooking everyone, the little villain's reanimated body starts getting up like a walker. Worried, the Platinum Boy recognizes the corpse control art his opponent is using. Smirking with absolute sarcasm, the hooded guy claims the dead kid's frame is going to be super useful. Far away, Aaron waves excitedly at bodyguard Dunkel, wanting to spill the tea on the little boss's childhood. Locked in on his mission, the knight brushes the chat off, saying he will listen to her stories later. Holding the emergency scroll, the soldier tries to figure out why the young guy is carrying something so dangerous. Stressed about the 3-hour delay, the warrior has a gut feeling something terrible went down in the woods. Ready to ride out, Dunkel hops on his horse, but gets blocked by the Branch family's guards. Looking completely unbothered, the men tell him to wait since the tournament is still going on. Catching the crest on their armor, the blonde guy realizes these are Dalton's personal escorts. Furious at the blockade, the Rhineland commander threatens to throw hands if they try to stop him from passing. With a dead serious stare, he makes it clear he will not hesitate to use force. Dropping a quick warning to the maid, the warrior says he is going after the kid right now. Worried, he tells Arryn to head back to the mansion with the priest ASAP. Spooked, the little girl spills that the white-haired holy man just vanished with a super serious look on his face. Instantly, the blonde guy remembers our MC's warning about the religious dude being highly suspicious. Without a second thought, the knight spurs his horse and takes off toward the danger. Boiling with rage, the soldier bites his glove, realizing the priest's disappearance confirms things are bad. Galloping like crazy, the warrior prays nothing messed up happened to the youngest kid. Deep in the woods, our boy complains that he is out of magic juice and cannot use any necromancy. Surrounded by reanimated monsters, the wizard knows he is not going to last long running on empty. Charging in as a pack, the walkers get the order to eliminate the Platinum Kid with zero mercy. Even though he is weak, the hare mocks his rival, calling him stupid for thinking he can take him out using his own magic. Clenching his fist hard, the kid activates the glowing moon symbol on his hand. Growling with hunger, the undead rush straight at our MC with everything they've got. Flashing a confident smirk, the guy announces the enemy just made the biggest mistake of his life. Totally confused, the hooded necromancer cannot figure out where all this swagger is coming from. Suddenly, the giant garrison drops from the sky, squashing the creatures with devastating punches. Packed with golden energy, the brute glows bright, charging up a holy light spell. Cleansing the area, the divine strike vaporizes the undead horde in a massive blast. Chilling, the holy warrior tells the little boss to take a breather, because he is safe now. Shaking with fear, the hooded guy demands to know who this suited monster is. Straight up, the giant drops his name, Garrison, one of the most feared proxies of the Holy Order. Historically, the proxies are known as the 3 human weapons, reporting directly to the Pope. As the Empire's ultimate military muscle, they are the only ones who can actually wield holy relics. Legend says that just one of these warriors hits as hard as an entire fortress. Crushed by the pressure, the necromancer tries to back up, trembling in pure terror. With a flawless hit, the priest launches the intruder away, instantly shattering his defense. Badly hurt, the criminal asks which of the 3 proxies is standing in front of him. Famous for his unbeatable physical strength, the cleric tells the little boss not to stress about a thing. Flashing a sharp smile, the giant announces that backup has finally arrived on the battlefield. Heavy footsteps echo on the grass as the monster in a robe pushes toward the rest of the horde. Brutally, the executioner flattens the walkers and tosses their broken bodies into the air. Even growling in pain, the reanimated monsters try to attack but get sliced up instantly. Showing zero mercy, the religious guy crushes one of the creature's skulls with his bare hands. Holding up his holy book, the executioner drops the final judgment on the sinners. With sparks flying from his eyes, the crazy guy demands the enemies to drop to their knees and beg for forgiveness. Through a baptism of fire, the priest vaporizes the goons' heads with blasts of light. Panicking, the surviving monsters try to run from that aggressive cleansing. Stomping hard on the floor, the big guy caves in the ground, leaving a dark crater behind. Showing absolutely zero compassion, the divine magic blows up dozens of goons all at once. Locked in on wiping them out, the priest smacks a survivor in the face with his holy book, making blood fly. Absolutely horrified, the hooded necromancer cannot believe the destructive power of that warrior. Chilling over the bodies, Garrison spreads an absolute vibe of terror through the forest. Without looking back, the intruder runs for his life, cursing his client for this failed job. Picking up speed, the rat tries to vanish, fully convinced he can outrun the massacre. In the blink of an eye, the priest's giant hand spawns out of nowhere and grabs the runner's head. Screaming in pain, the hooded guy feels his skull getting crushed by the executioner's steel fingers. Flashing a cold smile, the crazy dude mentions he still needs to finish his prayer before sending him to the Shadow Realm. Chilling by the campfire, the bodyguard feels a weird breeze in the night air. Looking dead serious, the Platinum Boy warns him that some things should never be talked about with anyone. Totally confused, Soldier Dunkel stutters, not understanding the sudden vibe shift. Suddenly, a high-pitched scream from Maid Aaron shatters the silence, making them both jump. Far away, a desperate scream echoes across the town's rooftops under a creepy fog. Panicking, the locals run through the streets, dodging swarms of starving walkers that crashed the place. Baring their teeth, the shadow creatures rush in, biting anyone who slips up in their way. Moving fast, Knight Dunkel jumps into action, slicing through the monsters to clear a path. Shocked by the swarm, the soldier yells for the young master, fearing the worst. With his sword blazing with purple fire, our kid chops down a zombie with one surgical strike. Showing zero panic, the kid turns his head and coldly asks why his guard is just standing there. Straight to the point, the Platinum Boy orders the warrior to go save the villagers without wasting a second. Grateful for the save, the survivors nervously ask who this white-haired young hero is. Skipping the thank yous, the hero demands to know when these freaks started popping up around here. Checking out the bodies, the wizard notices the spell is exactly the same as the one that hit him in the woods. Shaking with fear, a local spills that it all started 2 months ago after the Count locked up the mine. While venting, the guy reveals the monsters were actually their own neighbors, leaving our MC totally stunned. In a burst of desperation, the villager grabs the Platinum Kid's collar, demanding to know if he really is a Rhineland. Tightening his grip, the guy demands answers, while Dunkel steps in, telling him to let go of the young boss. Crying tears of rage, the villager yells that they begged for help for 2 months and nobody bothered to answer. Pointing at the ground, he throws it in his face that the guy sliced up seconds ago was someone he loved. Sobbing, the man reveals the creature was his own dad, who just worked day and night in the mine. Heartbroken, the poor guy asks why the folks at the bottom always have to suffer so much in this land. Hearing that, the little wizard's mind drifts back to Archimonde's bloody, glorious past. With his eyes glowing purple, the hero tells the guy to zip it, stating that this mess is not his fault. Cold as ice, the kid clarifies he wasn't the one who turned the locals into zombies, and tells him to aim his anger at the right target. Ready to chill things out, Dunkel says he will handle it, but the Platinum Boy is already firing up a spell in his palm. Using a solemn tone, the wizard commands the innocent souls who passed away in endless pain to hear him out. Radiating pure blue energy, the boy promises to guide their way, while the fallen undead start floating. Holding his hand out, the hare sets the terms for their spiritual release. Right in front of everyone, the villagers' blue souls start floating up to the sky. Amidst the glow, the dad's ghost smiles, leaving a runic message hanging in the air to say thanks. Giving a quiet nod, the Platinum Boy accepts the message, showing massive respect for their pain. Jaw dropped, Dunkel recognizes the legendary soul resonance technique. Mind blown, the survivors remember this spell was used 200 years ago to free the fallen from the plague. Crying happy tears, the son says goodbye to his dad's spirit, who finally finds peace. Shooting up into the sky, the light beams wipe away the darkness of that cursed night. Step by step down the dark road, the duo keeps moving in silence under the night sky. Following the locals' directions, our MC knows the straight path through the mountain leads right to the mine. Without stalling, Knight Dunkel asks what the kid talked about with the spirits before they left. Keeping it vague, the boy says it was no big deal and tries to change the subject. Pushed by the guard's nosiness, the kid just admits the ghosts said thanks for setting them free. But right after, the Platinum Kid confesses they begged for payback against the killers. Looking serious, the soldier repeats the word, payback, feeling the heavy vibe of that reveal. Disturbed by his suspicions, the warrior recalls the demon Archimonde legends and the vow of silence. Gripping his sword hilt tight, the knight decides to clear this story up once and for all. Pointing his blade right at the kid's back, the soldier demands to know his true identity. Jumping back to the past, the warrior's mind remembers when Little Clean first came back to the dukedom. Back then, everyone knew the cursed kid had spent 7 years locked up in a secluded monastery. But the scariest part about the little guy was his dark, empty stare. A kid who showed zero emotion. On his very first day back, the horror kicked off with screams echoing through the estate's gardens. Freaking out, the maids found a cat taking a permanent nap right on the main castle's kitchen floor. The next day, another feline showed up lifeless in the yard, and a third one right after. In total, 7 cats were found completely wiped out around the castle in a super creepy way. Full of gossip, the staff whispered that the boy's bloodline was cursed by the demon himself. Unbothered by the tense vibe, the little boss spent his days just staring out the window at nothing. Even knowing the rumors, young Dunkel thought the kid was way too young to be messing with real necromancy. Suddenly, weird footsteps in the hallway catch the knight's attention in the middle of the night. In the pitch black, a mysterious lantern slowly moves through the dark palace. Suspicious, the soldier follows the light and spots Little Clean walking around aimlessly by himself. Curious, the warrior wonders where a kid that age would be going so late at night. Moving quietly, the Platinum Boy steps forward, holding the metal lantern tight. Trailing right behind him, Dunkel tracks the kid to the edge of some super creepy woods. With crows flying overhead, an abandoned graveyard pops up in the thick brush, giving off serious chills. Hiding behind the trees, the soldier tries to figure out why the little boss is hanging out in a dead zone. Blocked by the giant tombstones, the warrior decides to inch closer to see what is going down. Suddenly, a bright flash scares the knight, who yells for the young master while pulling his sword out of pure reflex. To the soldier's shock, the little guy was surrounded by the 7 cats that were supposed to be completely checked out. Jaw on the floor, the blonde asks what is going on, and the little wizard calmly says he is just holding their funeral. After checking the bodies, the kid explains the animals caught a bug that is totally harmless to humans. Being careful, the kid mentions he needs to bury them, all to stop the sickness from spreading, and to keep other animals from digging them up. Worried, Dunkel suggests calling someone else so the young hare does not get his hands dirty. Dead serious, the little guy replies that it does not matter who does it, as long as the job gets done right away. Back in the present, the knight keeps his sword pointed at the kid's back, demanding the truth about who he is. With a slight head tilt, the platinum boy sarcastically asks if the soldier remembers Berkel Rhineland's very first lesson. With raw power, the giant brings the sword down, triggering a red energy blast that tears everything up. Kicking up dust on impact, the brute searches for his target, but gets totally confused when he vanishes. Shocked, the mercenary realizes the kid dipped out and wonders if the brat actually read the strike's path that fast. High above the monster's head, our hero is already dropping down with his weapon prepped for an attack. Cold and calculated, the little wizard points out that a body that huge leaves the back wide open. Busting out the famous meteor sword, the kid nails the giant's back with a lethal purple flash. Totally stunned, the crowd recognizes the family's secret move, while the blonde brother's jaw hits the floor. Screaming in pain, the bald guy loses it, unable to believe he just caught a massive hit to the back. Smirking, the ex-necromancer flexes his magic eye while the nobles wonder how he pulled that off with 0 mana. Up in the stands, the extras side eye the warrior commander, looking for some kind of explanation. Completely caught off guard, the red-eyed blonde cannot hide her shock at the scene. Far away, the bodyguard thinks to himself that normally, he would have jumped into the brawl to protect his boss by now. In a quick flashback, the soldier admits to the Duke that acting on emotion would just make the family's rep even worse. Super worried, the knight warned the patriarch that the youngest kid did not stand a chance against an imperial warrior. Calm and collected, the old man explained the boy went out there to defend his late mom's honor. Heavy with guilt, the leader admits he couldn't even save his son from the monastery back in the day. Frowning, the patriarch states that at the end of the day, he cannot protect anything, and tells the guard to chill. Back in the present, the big guy stares at the arena, with a focused look locked on the young master. Dodging lethal strikes, our MC proves he doesn't step into a fight just to take an L. From the VIP throne, his dad watches the kid's every move with extreme focus. On paper, the family's sword style focuses on saving mana to survive the freezing northern cold. On the flip side, the imperial style acts like a lion hunting its prey with raw, brutal force. Burning energy like crazy, the Empire's setup focuses on crushing the enemy by dropping all their magic at once. In a quick comparison, the northern technique is like sniping a rabbit the exact second it slips up. Focused on precision, the style burns the least amount of magic possible, striking like an eagle. With surgical perfection, the attack only happens in the absolute perfect gap of the enemy's defense. Gripping his weapon tight, the little wizard proves he fully understands the family's lethal core. Even without a single drop of energy, the kid smiles confidently, guaranteeing the technique makes up for the lack of power. Shaking with hate, the bald mercenary realizes the kid's attack packs more than enough damage to hurt him. Gritting his teeth, the executioner calls the hero a rat and promises instant payback. Exploding in pure fury, the monster unleashes a sea of scarlet energy that floods the entire arena. Yelling his lungs out, the imperial warrior looks like he is about to lose control from all the magic packed in his body. Feeling the heat, the stands go into full panic, recognizing the champion's ultimate trump card, projecting the image of a demonic lion. The move locks down the movements of anyone trying to run away. Chilling in the middle of the storm, the platinum boy just laughs in the face of the juiced up brute. Believing the tables have turned, the giant drops the strike, screaming that the win is already his. Freaking out in the crowd, the blonde brother yells for the youngest kid to watch out for the impact. In a brutal clash, the heavy blade hits its mark, but our MC blocks it by crossing his training sword. Quickly, the blacksmith's warning flashes back, confirming the weak steel will turn to dust against pure magic. Exactly as predicted, the kid's weapon shatters into 1,000 pieces upon impact. Smiling wide, the bald guy celebrates breaking the defense, thinking he finally bagged the win. Wasting no time, the villain already cues up another fatal strike to slice the unarmed kid in half. But with his magic eye turned on, the ex-Necromancer flashes a devilish smile, revealing his plan worked perfectly. Like a feather dropping from the sky, the kid's trap sets itself up completely silently. Repping the Imperial style, the giant lion does not even notice the incoming danger of being so light. Coming from above, the shadow of the predatory eagle covers the beast entirely, ready for the takedown. Apretendo firmo cabo quebrado nosso hero puxa o casabre de espada in Tilla, gripping the broken handle tight, our hero pulls what is left of the useless sword. Using the sharp stump, he slashes the mercenary's chest with a deep, lightning, fast purple cut. Immediately, the big guy's hand loses all its strength, dropping his weapon onto the dirt. Watching the surgical strike, the Patriarch calls an end to the match, declaring it over. Around the arena, everyone is in absolute shock, and the scammer Count gulps hard hearing the official loss. Amazed by the scene, the bodyguard admits the kid mastered the technique with zero magic in his system. In a genius play, the kid let his weapon break on purpose so he could land a point-blank hit. Cold as ice, the hero turns his back, sealing his absolute victory in front of the whole crowd. Knocked into the dirt, the mercenary screams in agony, grabbing the stump of his detached arm. Racing against the clock, the medics rush the field to save the loser from bleeding out. Ignoring the chaos, the Platinum Boy watches the doctors flash healing light onto the nasty injury. Curious about the medical tech of this era, the kid asks if they can actually glue the arm back on. Disappointed, he hears that magic only seals the wound, and the big guy is gonna need a prosthetic. Complaining in his head about how outdated healing spells are, the kid gets called out by his dad's voice. With a serious face, the Patriarch asks if the youngest kid doesn't feel a single ounce of pity for the damage he caused. Catching his own massive slip up, the ex-wizard sweats cold, realizing he acted way too unbothered for a normal kid. Quickly, he grabs his head and fakes being dizzy from nerves to throw the old man off his scent. Nearby, the traitor Count loses his mind, remembering the massive bag he dropped on that useless mercenary. Demanding the bet's payout, the Patriarch tells his rival to confess his crimes, but the scammer just yells his refusal. Foaming at the mouth, the coward plays the victim, crying that he already lost his son and his house's top fighter. Before he can finish his pity party, the old man's head goes flying from a clean, violent swing by the kid. Locking his focus on the deceased, the main character calls out the traitor's name without showing a single drop of emotion. Slowly, the rival leader's headless body drops heavy, staining the arena red. Already in the spirit world, the preppy guy's soul feels the cut on his neck and hears his executioner's cold voice. Getting right up in the ghost's face, the little wizard orders the sinner to confess everything to the true Northern Lord. In a creepy whisper, the hero demands the soul to get on its knees and beg for divine mercy. Instantly, a dark flame wraps around the spirit, locking in the scumbag's endless punishment. Taking on his legendary Grim Reaper form, the Necromancer judges the traitor in the underworld without blinking. Wrapping up the bizarre scene, the ghost screams in pure agony as it gets consumed by the purple fire of eternal doom. Curious about the vibe, bodyguard Dunkel looks up at the sky, but ignores the freezing breeze. Flashing a terrifying look, the Platinum Kid warns him never to bring up that forbidden topic again. Completely stunned, the soldier stammers, not understanding why the boy reacted so aggressively. Suddenly, a terrified scream from little Aaron shatters the camp silence. Far away, a desperate yell echoes across the village rooftops under the dark night. Panicking, the locals run through the streets, escaping from starving reanimated monsters. Baring their teeth, the shadow creatures charge forward, biting anyone who hesitates. Moving at lightning speed, warrior Dunkel uses his light sword to slice up the freaks. Worried about his safety, the knight yells for the little boss, fearing the worst. With his sword glowing, the kid chops a monster's head off with one flawless strike. Showing zero fear, the kid turns his head and asks why his partner is just standing there. Straight to the point, the Platinum Boy orders the soldier to go save the villagers right away. Standing in front of the locals, the knight introduces the boy as the alleged heir of the famous Rhianland family. Skipping the thank yous, the hero wants to know when these freaks started spawning around here. Checking the bodies, our MC realizes the reanimation magic is identical to the one that hit him before. With his voice shaking in terror, a local reveals it all started 2 months ago, after the mine was closed. Sounding completely broken, the guy explains that the monsters were actually their own neighbors. Desperate, the villager grabs the Platinum Kid's shirt, aggressively demanding answers. Yanking hard, the man demands the truth while the knight steps in to break them up. Crying angry tears, the peasant yells that they begged the nobles for help for 2 months without a single reply. Pointing his finger at the courtyard, the villager screams that the creature defeated earlier was someone super close to him. Crying his eyes out, the guy reveals the sliced up zombie was his own hardworking dad. Heartbroken, the poor guy questions why the weakest always have to suffer so much in life. Right then, the main character's mind flashes back to Archimonde's bloody, glorious past. With his eyes glowing purple, the kid tells the man to shut up, having zero patience for this guilt trip. Cold as ice, the Platinum Boy states he didn't turn anyone into a zombie, and tells him to aim his anger at the real culprit. Ready to calm things down, Dunkel offers to take care of the people, but the kid is already firing up his magic. In a solemn tone, the wizard commands the innocent souls who died in pain to listen up. Glowing with blue energy, the boy promises to guide their way, while the bodies start to float. With his hand out, the heer dictates the terms of the new spiritual summoning. Right in front of everyone, the dead folks' blue souls leave their bodies and rise to the sky. Mid-spell, the dad's ghost smiles gratefully, leaving runic marks in the air. With a subtle nod, the Platinum Boy accepts the thanks and shows respect for the people's pain. Jaw dropped, Knight Dunkel recognizes the mystic soul resonance technique. Mind blown, the peasants remember this spell was used 200 years ago in the north. With tears in his eyes, the kid says goodbye to his dad's spirit, who finally gets to rest. Shooting toward the sky, the blue beams purify that cursed night. Step by step down the dirt road, the duo keeps traveling toward the mountain under the starlight. Based on the villagers' directions, our MC knows the straight path leads right to the mine's entrance. Without stalling, Knight Dunkel asks what the young master was talking about with the ghosts. Keeping it vague, the Platinum Boy plays dumb, pretending it wasn't anything major. Facing the guard's curiosity, the kid just says the ghosts said thanks for the release. But in the very next sentence, he confesses the souls begged for payback against their killer. Looking serious, the warrior repeats the word, payback, feeling the dark weight of their journey. Troubled by his suspicions, the blonde guy remembers the day he thought the youngest kid might be the demon reincarnated. With a firm grip on his sword hilt, the soldier decides to clear up this story for good. Pointing his blade at the kid's back, the blonde demands to know his real identity. Jumping back into the past, the guard's mind remembers the first day he met the little master. Back then, everyone knew the cursed kid spent 7 years locked away in an isolated monastery. But the weirdest part was the dark, empty stare of a kid with zero human emotion. Right on his first day back, the terror kicked off with screams echoing through the mansion. Freaking out, the maids found a cat that had checked out for good lying in the middle of the main kitchen. The very next day, another feline popped up lifeless in the garden, and one more right after. All in all, a total of 7 cats were found wiped out in a super creepy way around the castle. Full of gossip, the staff spread rumors that the kid's bloodline carried cursed shadow blood. Unbothered by the chaos on the estate, the little boss spent his days glued to the window looking at nothing. Even knowing the rumors, young Dunkel thought the boy was way too innocent to summon actual necromancy. Suddenly, weird footsteps in the dark hallway grabbed the knight's attention. Lighting up the pitch black, a mysterious lantern slowly moves in the middle of the night. Suspicious, the soldier follows the light and sees the little platinum kid walking alone in his PJs. Curious, the hero wonders where a kid would be going at this hour. Moving quietly, the Platinum Boy steps forward, holding the metal lantern tight. Right on his tail, Dunkel tracks the kid to the edge of a creepy forest that gives serious chills. Surrounded by crows, an abandoned graveyard shows up at the end of the dark trail, hiding behind the tombstones. The warrior tries to figure out why the little boss is out there. Because of the giant graves, the soldier decides to sneak closer to spy on the scene. Suddenly, a bright flash scares the knight, who yells for the young master, pulling his sword out on pure reflex. To the guard's shock, the kid was sitting on the grass taking care of the 7 felines that looked perfectly alive again. In another scene, it reflects on how crossing over is usually compared to sleeping, where the body drops its exhaustion and karma. Slowly, the defeated necromancer's eyes start to open in the dark. Totally confused, the woman fully wakes up, trying to figure out what is going on. Touching the ground, she realizes she is lying in a puddle of dark water. Completely disoriented, the villain sits up in the wet area, surrounded by bizarre floating pillars. Jumping up in a panic, the criminal asks what this place is, while a voice announces she is finally awake. The creepy tone declares that this is the place beyond where souls arrive, revealing the dreaded underworld. Shaking in her boots, the woman turns slowly to face the source of that scary voice. Refusing to believe it, she denies this is the great beyond and tells the guy to stop talking nonsense. Looking imposing with his scythe, Archimonde warns her that her panic just proves the reality hasn't hit her yet. With a piercing stare, the Dark Lord coldly asks if they can finally get started. Sweeting bullets, the woman hears the sentence that it is time for her sins to be judged. Spinning the legendary weapon, the Master of the Shadows announces the condemnation in his own name. Instantly, it clicks for the criminal as she recognizes the title of the historic walking disaster. Standing right in front of her is the monarch who built the biggest undead army and ruled necromancy on the continent. The king of necromancers reaches out his hand and drops an absolute order for her to take a step forward. Totally in shock, the woman holds her breath, completely unable to react. Against her own will, the criminal gets dragged through the air, asking why her body is moving on its own. Throwing the truth in her face, the judge lists how she turned innocent people into torture test subjects. Showing zero pity, he reminds her that she trapped people on the edge of fading out just to feed her sick, twisted desires. Screaming in despair, the necromancer refuses to accept this, since the Lord is supposed to be long gone. With red splashing around, the executioner agrees, reminding her it has been 200 years since his fall. Standing in the dark, the woman hears that her biggest mistake was treating the fallen like cheap, disposable tools. Staring down his prey, the ancient demon dictates exactly what is going to happen from here on out. To the sound of a creaking coffin, the final sentence declares she is about to become the master's newest tool. In absolute panic, the criminal takes a misstep, backing up into the dark water. Flailing her arms frantically, she begs the Grim Reaper to hold on a second. With her eyes wide, the woman screams, demanding to know what becoming a tool actually means. Letting out a screech, the villain gets brutally yanked deep into the beyond. With zero chance to defend herself, the necromancer drops one last scream of denial before vanishing. Watching the coffin close, the executioner coldly asks if the sinner is scared of the end. Spinning the blade hard, the Lord tells the woman to rest in peace for now. With a massive, overpowered flex, the ancient monarch promises they are going to meet again real soon. Cutting through the dark, the woman's scream of agony echoes during the final strike. Waking up spooked and gasping for air, the criminal realizes she is back in the real world inside the mine. Crying happy tears, she celebrates, thinking she didn't cross over, and that it was all just a wild nightmare. Right next to her, the villager who tagged along for the mission is super emotional that he survived. Totally confused, the villain hears someone mention it is unbelievable that only her head is left over. Letting out a scream of terror, the woman comes face to face with the platinum kid staring at her looking bored. Sweating cold, the peasant looks at the wrecked scene and asks in shock if the young master did all that by himself. While the detached head screams in confusion, the little wizard ignores her and tells the knight to get to work. Desperate, the necromancer yells, demanding to know what happened and why she is just a talking noggin now. Crouching right in front of the leftover remains, the kid calmly asks if the villain finally got her senses back. Keeping his cool, the ex-necromancer states she probably already realizes how badly she messed up. Putting the pieces together, the criminal completely freezes and asks him to wait a minute. Hearing the kid's tone of voice, the detached head instantly recognizes the entity from the beyond. With the demon's image overlapping him, the platinum boy reminds her he warned about their reunion, confirming he is Archimond himself. Seeing his reflection in her eye, the woman loses it, realizing it wasn't a dream, and the rumors about the kid were 100% real. Before the hysterical lady can scream the truth to everyone, the little wizard puts a finger to her lips, telling her to shush. Keeping the secret locked down, the hero orders his prisoner to shut her mouth immediately. Cutting to the chase, the platinum boy demands she drop all the intel he wants to know. Flashing a scary look, the ex-villain asks who sent her and how many allies are chilling in the area. Offering a deal, the kid promises a quick fade out if she talks, but threatens to give her eternal life if she refuses. Crying tears of pure panic, the villain realizes this immortality would mean living forever as just a head. Without an ounce of pity, the main character confirms she would spend eternity rotting away exactly like that. Lifting her head up by the hair, the puppet master challenges the woman to see how long she can go without crying. Later on, the focused peasant writes down all the dirty secrets she spilled into a makeshift notebook. Wrapping up the writing, the guy says he got everything down perfectly, and our MC approves the work. Tired of how bad that hole smells, the young master turns his back and tells his ally to bounce. Tossed on the ground, the necromancer's head yells in anger, asking what is going to happen to her now. Desperate for a little pity, the villain reminds him she already spilled absolutely everything the kid asked for. Flashing a creepy smile in the dark, the platinum boy pretends he forgot about their deal. Crying happy tears, the woman says thanks for finally getting the right to cross over and rest in peace. Pulling magic energy into his hands, the little wizard guarantees he always keeps his promises. Moving fast, the hero throws the spell right at the remains lying in the dirt. Walking away, the kid coldly mentions her head just needs to hang in there for about a week or so. Across the cave floor, dozens of roaches start crawling out, drawn in by the spell. Facing a disgusting army of bugs, the woman hears that the roaches are going to do the favor of eating her nice and slow. Absolutely horrified, the criminal watches the massive swarm heading straight for her face. Unable to move a muscle, the prisoner screams in agony, feeling the pests crawling all over her skin. Flashing a sadistic mission, accomplished smile, the ex-necromancer says thanks for the hard work of his brand new tool. With roaches crawling literally inside her eye, the sinner suffers the worst torture imaginable, screaming in pure agony. Left to rot, her scream cursing Archimonde's name echoes off the cold walls of the mine. Far away from that slaughterhouse, the day breaks peaceful, lighting up the massive Rhineland family estate. Inside the luxury office, Duke Heinkel checks the reports with an incredibly serious look on his face. Holding the paperwork, Duke Heinkel asks if the intel about the Empire letting necromancers loose in the north, with the Holy Order turning a blind eye, is actually true. Calling the kid by his name, the noble waits for Clean to confirm if the document they got is legit. At that moment, the main character reports he found about 150 walkers in the mine and points out that the local nobles are way too busy with political drama to care. Instantly, Clean's dad orders the butler to dispatch knights to those spots and call for border backup to lock down the threat. Locking eyes with his son again, the Duke gives him major props for the solid work during that risky investigation, trying to keep a low profile. The hero gives all the credit to Commander Dunkel's help, and mentions they decided to keep the whole necromancy thing under wraps for now. On the inside, our main character is praying the commander actually keeps his mouth shut about the forbidden magic he used in the cave. With that, Heinkel slides a small object across the desk, telling his son to take it. Surprised, the kid listens to his dad explain that he was planning to hand out a few more hardcore missions before finally giving him the item. The metal piece sitting on the wood is the official wolf emblem that represents the feared knights of the Rhineland family. Naming the kid an apprentice knight, the Duke feels the reward is a bit light for his hard work, but gets cut off right away. Hyped about the outcome, the young master confidently states that the promotion is more than enough for him. The family leader stays quiet for a second, just taking in how solid the new knight's attitude is. Then, Heinkel wraps up the chat, telling his son to go get some rest, and gets a formal thank you in return. Wasting no time, the young guy walks out of the office, shutting the heavy double doors right behind him. Mind blown by the numbers in the report, the butler lists the crazy enemies they faced on the mission and gets ordered to send a letter to the Duke's brother. Confused by the request, Berkman tries to question the call, since that guy doesn't usually show up for just anything. Standing firm, the noble tells the worker to drop a line in the message, saying that the genius they spent their whole lives looking for has finally been found right here. Walking down the palace's massive hallways, Clean laughs to himself, thinking about the irony of becoming a knight out of nowhere. The main character feels a huge wave of relief because the knight's quarters are a strict military zone, meaning no randoms can just stroll in. Feeling good about his new rank, the ex-villain figures the purifying priest won't have any more openings to cross his path. Gripping his brand new emblem, the hero hypes himself up on his mission to bring back the Rhineland family's old school glory. Hyped about the rank up, the kid picks up the pace and starts plotting his next move in the Empire. Out of nowhere, Maid Arin comes sprinting down the hall and crashes hard right into the new recruit's chest. With his back aching from the hit, the boss jokes around, asking if the girl is really that desperate for cookies. Offended, the worker tries to hide her snacking, but the hero quickly points out the sweet crumbs all over her face. Changing the subject super fast, the girl tells him to hit up the kitchen for some real food if he is hungry. Freaking out, the maid remembers why she was running and yells that the dangerous priest Garrison is inside the palace looking for him. Hearing the necromancer hunter's name, our main character completely freezes mid-conversation. The flashback of the guy's raw power vaporizing walkers hits the kid's brain like a lethal warning that danger has arrived. In Clean's head, he pictures the terrifying visual of the bloody hand and the brutal face of the church's hunter. Caught completely off guard, the kid sweats bullets hearing Garrison's heavy voice pop up right behind him, asking how the mission went. Tense to the max, our main character hears the priest mention he has been waiting for him for a while now. Rocking a totally intimidating vibe, the visitor greets the young master by his full name, making it crystal clear that his peace and quiet just officially ended. Desperate, the guard screams the young master's name at the top of his lungs. Throughout the forest, multiple soldiers spread out, yelling for the hero who vanished into the darkness. Swapping intel, the search party confirms they haven't found a single trace of the kid in the area. Sweating bullets, one of the guards warns that the purification ritual is about to start and begs for the kid to show up. Hiding up high, the MC gets annoyed, remembering that the darn priest hung him up in his birthday suit last time. While the soldiers decide to check around the mansion, the kid crosses his fingers, hoping they'll get lost already. Up on the tree branch, exhaustion hits hard and the former bad guy accidentally dozes off. Waking up completely spooked, the little wizard has a nightmare about the priest and starts freaking out. Losing his balance, the kid tumbles from the branch, realizing just how dumb it was to take a nap up there. Sticking the landing, the hero figures the search party has wrapped up and decides to head back home. Suddenly, a weird noise grabs his attention, giving him an immediate jump scare. Circling the tree, monstrous creatures roar loudly, revealing themselves as the dreaded northern grizzly bears. With a fierce glare, the beasts show exactly why they're the top predators of that freezing wasteland. Packed with aggression, these beasts rock claws perfectly designed to shred everything in their path. Unable to use his dark magic, the kid sits in his hiding spot, accepting he'll become bear snacks if he tries to make a run for it. Shivering to the bone, the kid curses the freezing northern weather as time ticks away. Caught up in his memories, he remembers the past where he sacrificed everything for the people who met an unfair end. Faced with the irony of fate, the former lord reflects on reincarnating into the family of the hero, who previously took him out. Even after getting a second chance, the MC complains about still living like a scared runaway. Hugging himself, the kid fights to stay warm in the middle of the freezing forest. Cooing in his mind, voices from the past call him a monster and demand his capture with zero mercy. Shaken by the memories, the insults calling him a cursed child cut straight to the core, curled up into a tight ball. The young master caves to the extreme cold of that brutal night. With his vision blurred from a fever, the little wizard feels his consciousness clock out for good. Surprisingly, the giant garrison trudges through the snow, carrying the knocked-out kid on his back. Noticing the movement, the priest calmly asks if the young master has finally woken up. Confused, the hero asks if he froze over and went to the bad place, but the big guy laughs and shoots down the theory. Asking about the bears, the kid hears that the priest already handled all of them without breaking a sweat. Stomping his foot, the kid demands to be let go, but the holy man tells him to chill out because of the fever. Suspicious, the silver-haired kid questions the rescue, seeing as it would have been way easier to just let him turn into Beast Chow. Hitting right where it hurts, the MC confesses he always thought the priest hated his guts more than anyone else. Staring at the bright moon, the religious dude gets philosophical, stating that a star never creates its own darkness. Keeping his cool, the big guy explains that light simply shines right where it is. Remembering the crying bear cubs, the priest makes a comparison, saying a young life doesn't know what evil is. Bringing up the future of children, the hunter declares he has no right to crush anyone's potential. Faced with such noble words, the kid completely freezes up, totally speechless. Killing the mood, the kid calls out the hypocrisy after all the torment, but the giant lays down one condition. In a threatening tone, the priest warns that if the child turns out to actually be the Archimand, it's a whole different ball game. Feeling the crushing pressure, the young master gulps hard, realizing the very real danger he's in. Breaking the silence, a dry leaf drops from the tree, highlighting the insane tension in the air. Turning his head, the priest advises the kid to watch his step very carefully. Promising without a second thought, the big guy swears he'll finish the wizard off with his bare hands if he steps out of line. Snapping back to the present in the castle hallway, the visitor smiles, saying it's been a minute since they last saw each other. Sweating cold with nerves, the MC nods, feeling the vibe get ridiculously heavy on his shoulders. Oozing confidence, the priest mentions he sorted out some business with the order and scored a pretty sweet little gift. Raising his massive hand, the hunter shows off a glass vial holding a weird, glowing liquid. Panicking on the inside, the little wizard recognizes the stuff as ectoplasm, terrified the gadget is going to track him down. Spilling the beans, the visitor talks about the forest ambush and claims he crushed the enemy all by himself. Taking heavy steps toward the here, the priest drops bait, saying the device picked up on something else. Focused on the old man's chill demeanor, the kid hears the confirmation that there were 2 traces of dark magic out there. In the quiet hallway, the MC can even hear the magical hum of the artifact reacting like crazy. Instantly, a heavy, gloomy aura starts warping the space around the two of them, with his heart practically jumping out of his chest. The former lord's survival instincts are screaming danger. Crunching the numbers, the kid figures that copying the giant is impossible, since he'd get taken out on the spot. Looking terrifying, the big guy demands the kid use dark magic, but the MC shoots down the reckless idea in his head. Confused by the offer, the hero hears that the priest will just write it up as a report if the magic is basic level. With a sharp glare, the hunter declares that the real issue is if the spell matches the Great Lord's mojo. Completely backed into a corner, the young master gets the verdict: there's no escaping his doom if he's the monster. In the little wizard's mind, the sheer power of that beast would smash him into 1,000 pieces in the blink of an eye. Looking down, the kid lets out a bitter smile, remembering the years of misery at the hands of the psycho. Staring the end right in the face, the hero mentions that someone very familiar used to say the exact same thing. Remembering the knight who took him down, the kid confesses that he used to think all that talk was just a bunch of nonsense. Bringing up the whole protecting potential thing, the kid admits he finally gets the divine message. Straight from the soul, the silver-haired kid states he recognizes the giant's sense of justice and knows it isn't just some hateful witch hunt. Owning up to his own mistakes, the former bad guy looks back on his defeat and accepts that he lost everything because he was a total failure. Clenching his fists tight, the little wizard refuses the order to use magic, calling the whole circus a joke. With an unflinching look, the young master declares that he alone calls the shots for his own destiny, and announces he's done running. Faced with this rebellion, the priest lets out a heavy sigh, accepting that the friendly chat is officially over. Tossing his coat aside, the big guy gears up for a brawl, promising to beat the magic right out of him. In a brutal dash, the beast charges forward with fists glowing in pure, destructive holy energy. Backing up fast, the MC sweats cold, knowing he needs to dodge that or he'll get turned into mashed potatoes. Focusing all his body's energy, the kid goes all in on a single survival move. With eyes squeezed shut in extreme focus, the kid looks for the perfect opening in his opponent. Firing up his copy power, the hero mentally begs for just one chance to nail the maneuver. In a spectacular leap, the little wizard barely dodges the devastating impact that shatters the hallway. Noticing the impossible dodge, Garrison freezes up, completely shell-shocked by the kid's agility. With his body low to the ground, the MC mentally does a victory lap over pulling off the move. Meanwhile, the insane impact of the big guy's punch turns the statue and the floor into absolute dust. Spooked by the massive boom, the castle staff show up screaming in panic at the crazy scene. Totally confused, the guards try to figure out why the priest is going all WWE on the young master. Taking advantage of the opening, the kid charges in, determined to strike back while the enemy is distracted. But suddenly, the little wizard hits panic mode when he notices something super important is missing. Staring down the kid, the giant raises a sword and mockingly asks if that was what he was looking for. Mind blown by the empty scabbard, the former bad guy can barely believe he got disarmed so fast. Wasting zero time, the priest draws the stolen blade with a quick and menacing swipe. However, he just chucks the weapon far away, burying the steel right into the hallway floor. Getting the taunt, the MC realizes the enemy ditched the weapon, because he knows a dark mage doesn't need one. With that, the young master is absolutely certain he's done for, while the beast warns that he doesn't need any gear either. Right after that, the hunter charges with zero mercy and fires off a brutal punch straight at the hero's face. Despite the incoming danger, the kid shows pure swagger, dodging the heavy fist with insane speed. Causing massive damage, the punch hits the wall and triggers an energy blast that wrecks the castle's structure. Right away, massive stone blocks and debris start crashing down everywhere. The destruction spreads out of control, causing part of the hallway to cave in toward the floor below. In the middle of all this chaos, the guards bravely dive in front of the staff to shield them from the rubble. As soon as the dust settles a bit, the sound of someone coughing hard echoes through all that mess. Desperate over the attack, one of the soldiers points at Garrison and yells to call for backup ASAP. Keeping his cool vibe, the priest straight up ignores the yelling and turns his focus back to his main target. Then, an unknown dude pops up blocking the path, demanding the priest explain the reason behind that crazy attack. With a threatening glare, Heinkel warns that he's going to slice the enemy up with his own sword if he doesn't get a good answer real quick.